Yeah, this is case number 250 on the calendar in the matter of DePietro versus Rathbun. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Let's see.
Mr. DiPietro, according to what I read, you were going on vacation and you wanted to sort of redo your body. You saw an advertisement. The advertisement was from the defendant's company. It indicated that if you used her body wraps, that you would take instantly inches off your frame. You went to her, got the body wrap. You were dissatisfied with the service which was, according to you, guaranteed by the defendant. You felt sort of intimidated when the session was over, and you did pay her. I think the session was $80, $85, is that right? But you got home and you stopped payment on the check. The defendant was furious that you stopped payment on the check, and according to her, after some efforts to try to get you to pay, she filed a complaint with the police.
Correct.
I don't know what the nature of the complaint was, but you were contacted by the police and told that a warrant was issued for your arrest and you should come in and turn yourself in. Did you go and turn yourself in?
Yes, I did.
And you were searched, you were detained for a period of time, and ultimately the police said to you that if you want this whole thing to go away, you'll give her the money, which you did, and she dropped the charges. The police let you go. You are suing her for the following: for the return of your $85, but that's a small part of your complaint, and the rest of your lawsuit has to do with the humiliation that you suffered as a result of the arrest, because it's your claim that the defendant breached her contract to you, which was a guarantee of success. You said that the treatment was not successful. The defendant has a counterclaim, I don't know, loss of income. It's a nonsense counterclaim. I don't understand her counterclaim. She'll explain it to me. So let me see how you found the defendant.
This is my evidence.
Just show me the ad. This is clear. Not only is it an offer, but it says that there is a guarantee that you lose 10 inches today, guaranteed, non-surgically. And this is what you saw.
Yes.
Okay, so tell me what happened when you went to see the defendant.
When I went to see her, also she told me when I called her about the ad, I was kind of skeptical about the ad, and I said, how can you lose that? And she said, oh, you can lose 10 to 30 inches, check out my website. So I went to the website, and this was on her website. This says 10 to 30 inches. And it says guaranteed on there too. So she told me I had nothing to lose because it was guaranteed, and she told me, or my money back. So I made an appointment. Before the body wrap started, I asked her again, this is guaranteed? We sat down. She said, oh yes, it's definitely guaranteed. Look, you have the ad and everything. It was.
You have the ad. Listen to me, Ms. DiPietro. I don't want you to embellish anything. Do you understand? There are certain things that make sense and there are certain things that don't make sense. You have the ad. The ad says guaranteed. Don't fabricate anything.
I'm not fabricating anything.
Yeah, okay. I'm just warning you. Don't fabricate anything about sitting down, getting the wrap, and talking about guaranteed again. Just tell me the truth. The truth is what's going to save you today. Do you understand?
Yes, I am telling the truth.
Okay. Then, you went to see her. And what happened when you took the body wrap?
She wrapped me up like a mummy from head to toe in these wet ace bandages. The only thing that was showing where was my eyes. It was ice cold. She then proceeded, well, first she measured me, and she marked it where she measured me. And she had left the tape measure very loose when she first measured me. She was on the phone the whole time. She was measuring me, talking to some friends, laughing and everything else. And I was freezing at this point, the air conditioner's on, and soaking wet. Then she puts plastic bags on my hands and my feet to catch the water, and then an elastic. So now I'm walking like a mummy, water's dripping from me. Then she tells me to go exercise for almost an hour on an exercise machine.
What kind of exercise machine?
I think it was like one of those ski things, and then she had the steppers. She told me to pick out whatever I wanted, and so I did that for almost an hour. I fell off a couple of times because it was so wet, my feet, I had water dripping off me.
Got it.
So she said, the more you exercise, the harder you do. Oh, you'll get even more than the 10 inches. So I did do that as hard as I could. Then when the time was up, she put me behind a curtain and they unwrapped me. And then she measured me again, this time pulling the tape measure very tight. When she was done, I said, so did I lose? What did I lose? And I looked in the mirror right away. I knew. I said, I looked the exact same way. I said, well, you know, didn't I lose the 10 inches at least? And she said, no, you didn't. She goes, but I'll have to add it up, but I don't think you did. And I said, what? And she said, well, just go change. Never mind that. We'll talk about it when you're done. So I went and changed. I met her. She said, meet me back at my desk. So I changed up. I dried off the whole bit. I met her back there. And I asked her if I lost the 10 inches. She said, well, no, you didn't. And I said, well, then I'm not paying. And she said, well, you have to pay. I said, you told me it was guaranteed or I don't have to pay. And she said, no, I waived the guarantee. I said, when did you waive the guarantee? I never heard. You never said that to me. She goes, oh, yeah, I mentioned it when I was wrapping you because your legs are too thin. Believe me, my legs are not too thin.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I have the right to waive the guarantee.
No, you can't waive a guarantee.
I wouldn't have wrapped her.
Pay careful attention to me.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Michelle DePietro says esthetician Claudia Rathbun guaranteed she'd lose 10 inches with her herbal body wrap. Michelle claims Claudia won't honor her guarantee.
First of all, who do you work for?
I own the company, the Millennium Body. I am a licensee of a international company that provides these mineral body wraps. I've been doing the mineral body wraps for 3.5 years. I got involved in this business because of the results I obtained with the body wrap.
Okay, fine. Your ad says guaranteed. She says you didn't get the 10 to 30 inches that you say she was going to realize, and therefore she didn't want to pay you. Now, tell me about this waiver of the guarantee.
Okay. The guarantee is based upon head-to-toe measurements. There are 18 measurements from head to toe. I
understand now. I think that this is slightly deceptive. The advertising.
Okay.
Oh, yes, it is. Because when I look at that and I look at your picture, you see, and you said lose 10 inches, this lady looks like she's lost 10 inches around her waist.
Okay.
Pay careful attention to me, madam.
I am.
So when someone looks at this, they say, well, I'm going to lose 10 inches around my waist and my midsection. That would be terrific. What you're saying is, in the small print, which doesn't appear in this ad, you'll take measurement from the arm, measurement from the lower arm, measurement from the wrist, a measurement from the neck, a measurement from the bust, a measurement from here, measurement from the hip, a measurement from the thigh, a measurement from the calf, a measurement from the ankle, and all that is going to add up to 10 inches at the end of this wrap. Okay. When I say it's slightly deceptive, your picture is, along with the word guarantee, is deceptive. You have to understand that. It's designed to make it look as if you're going to lose weight and it's not going to be around your eyeballs. Okay. So, what I want to know is, when do you claim she waived the guarantee?
Okay. When Michelle met me, I arrived at my salon at the same time Michelle did, and we had a conversation explaining the procedure about body composition plays a part on whether one would get the 10-inch guarantee.
I don't believe that. Listen to me. I'm going to tell you what I told her. If you're trying to get a customer into your salon, you don't tell...
Sorry.
I don't believe that you told her on the phone that the guarantee really wasn't a guarantee. Not until she got there, if you told her at all. When she got there, maybe, if you said to me, when she got there, I said, well, I looked at your legs are too skinny, you may not get the 10 inches, but I don't believe, because common sense suggests to me, and my age suggests to me, that when you're in business and you're offering a guarantee and you got a live one on the phone, you're going to tell them, well, we made a mistake in the ad, there's no guarantee. So, let's get real. She comes into this, you didn't tell her on the phone that there was no guarantee. Let's get to when she came into the salon.
Okay, well, I'm sorry you don't believe me in that regard.
I don't.
But there is a script
I don't.
that we're going.
No normal person is going to believe you that you put ads all over the place with a guarantee, and as soon as somebody calls you up on the telephone, you see how you're smiling? As soon as you get somebody on the telephone, you say, I just want to let you know before you come in, there is no guarantee. So, let's get on. Let's get on and let's get real. You're a businesswoman.
It is not a miracle. It is not a miracle.
This, madam, is a miracle. Somebody can come in and get wrapped up for an hour and come out 10 inches slimmer.
From head to toe.
10 inches slimmer is a miracle. Is a miracle. That's what she came in for. She came in for a miracle. I mean, she may be a little bit of a wacky coming in for this kind of a miracle. I think she probably is a little bit of a wacky. Tell me about the guarantee and make it good.
All righty. We have them fill out a questionnaire which goes through how much they weigh, whether they're taking any medication.
Okay, I got it. I'll take a look at the questionnaire.
There's also a section number 11 which indicates target areas of desirous inch
Let me
loss,
see that, please.
which is filled out by
Let me see.
the patron.
Just why I want to see it. She filled this out, but I see she didn't sign it.
She did not purchase a package.
She didn't.
Of wraps.
Okay.
So that's the instance when she would sign that. Because this is a program. This is not a one-time deal where someone will lose a size in one wrap.
No. That's not what you say here, madam. That's clearly not what you say here. Let me read exactly what you say here. I understand that individual results may vary based on body composition and body size.
Correct.
I understand that the written inch loss guarantee applies to the first wrap only.
Correct.
Head to toe measurements. So what this says in plain English is you are guaranteeing 10-inch results for the first wrap. And you signed it.
But I have the right to waive the guarantee.
No, you can't waive a guarantee. Only she can waive the guarantee.
I wouldn't have wrapped her.
Pay careful attention to me.
Okay.
If I buy a car. No, make it better. Bird buys a car, because I want him to pay attention. Bird buys a car, a brand new car. That car is guaranteed from stem to stern for 3 years. He has the car for 1 week. The car blows up. He takes the car back to the dealership, and the dealership says, we waived the guarantee for your car because we knew when it came off the assembly line that the guy who was putting it together was really not wrapped too tight. So we waived the guarantee. What do you think he would do? What would you do, Bert?
I'll take it to Judge Judy.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Michelle DePietro says esthetician Claudia Rathbun owes for an herbal body wrap that didn't work.
You cannot waive a guarantee. Somebody gave you very, very bad legal advice if they told you that you can make a guarantee here and then you, not the customer, could waive the guarantee. And I don't know whoever did that, but they got their legal license and closed the cover before you strike school. Do you understand? Okay. So you cannot waive the guarantee. Now, she paid you. Why did you pay her?
Because she told me, she said, you have to pay me. And I said, but you didn't meet your agreement. And she said, oh yeah, I waived it. Didn't you hear me when I was wrapping you? I said, no.
So you paid her. So
she started to get extremely rude. And then she said, you're offending me. And then she said, you need to pay or I'm going to call the police. So being afraid, I've never been in trouble in my entire life except for maybe a car ticket or something.
Did you ever say to her, you better pay or I'll call the police?
No.
No, of course you didn't. I told you before, Miss DiPietro. Do not lie to me. And how do I know she's never said to you, you better pay or I'll call the police? Because you didn't put that in your complaint, which I read very carefully. I told you, tell the truth. You don't seem to be losing, but if you lie, you will. Do you understand?
Yes.
Right. See, I told her the same thing.
She is very intimidating, Your Honor.
She may be intimidating, and I believe she may be intimidating, or you may have been intimidated, but she never threatened to call the police. In any event, you paid her the $85, and then you went home and stopped payment on the check. That's what happened. Now, I want to see the complaint you filed with the police.
I didn't file a complaint per se to the police department.
What did you do?
When someone stops a payment or I get a bad check, we contact the local police department, the fraud unit.
Just a minute. There's a difference between a stop payment and a bad check.
Well, I asked the police department whether the procedure would be the same for a stop payment.
That's baloney. I don't believe that.
Well,
that's baloney.
Why
don't believe it.
I asked them whether the procedure would be the same. They checked the general laws of the state of Rhode Island and said yes. So the procedure.
Let me see what the general laws say.
I don't have the general.
Then I don't believe you, madam, because it's common sense.
There's my email. There's my letter to Michelle, which was sent certified.
I don't care about your letter. You mean you were not asked to go in to file a complaint?
It wasn't a complaint. It was trying to collect the funds for a service rendered.
The police departments don't do that unless you know a cop.
That's exactly.
Unless you know a police officer, police departments don't try to collect. They send you to civil court.
No, Your Honor, not in the state of Rhode Island. Your first course of action is to send a certified letter to the person who writes a check that is not cashable or a stop payment. I've done this a few times with some bad checks.
Bad checks is different.
I've never had this instance before where someone stopped payment. But you're going to
listen to me. You're going to be successful because she played fast and loose. She told them she got a bad check and they brought you in. That's what happened.
No, I didn't.
Oh, I believe that that's true. I don't see anything different from you, madam. Police department does not handle stop payments. Stop payments are handled by civil courts. Bad checks are handled by the police department. Somebody passes a bogus check. She did not. She gave you a perfectly valid check to get out of your establishment and decided to stop payment on it because she decided that you violated the guarantee. You did not get the check back marked insufficient funds or no account by this person. You got the check back saying payment stopped. That leaves you a civil recourse because in the state of Rhode Island, which is last I heard part of the United States of America, they do have civil courts. They do have small claims courts where you could go to get it. This was just easier for you. Easier for you to follow the same procedure as you had followed before, which is you call somebody at the police department and says, listen, I got another bad check. So you're suing for $1,500.
Correct.
You're going to get it. You're going to get it. You did the wrong thing. What you do is if you have a civil complaint, you go to civil court. You don't call your local friend at the police department. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,500. That's all. Step out. Counterclaims dismissed.
Comfy?
Thank you.
Your Honor, this is case number 228 on the calendar in the matter of Haas versus Terhune.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat, please.
Mr. Haas, was this the gentleman who was with you at the movie theater on the day of the incident?
Yes, ma'am.
According to your complaint, Mr. Haas, the defendant assaulted you by spilling soda on your head in the movie theater. And you were injured. Your eye became infected. Something happened to your eye as a result of that. I read the defendant's answer, and quite frankly, she doesn't deny that she did it. But in effect, her defense is that you're a crybaby, it's no big deal. Is that what your defense is? Yeah, that's what I figured. I don't know how that's going to fly, but we're going to find out. I'm not going to start with you.
Okay.
I'm going to start with Mr. Terhune. First, I want you to tell me how old you are.
38.
You work?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a technician on computers.
Tell me when you went to the movies on the day that you came into contact with Mr. Haas. What date was that?
I don't remember. He says it was the 7th of November.
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. What movie were you going to see?
Frida.
Good movie. For what performance did you buy a ticket?
The first one, like 11 o'clock, I think, or
in the morning?
Yeah.
Busy theater?
Not a lot of people that day, maybe 30 people.
Now, you arrived at the theater, bought your ticket, and went and took a seat. 30 people, so the theater wasn't full. When did Mr. Haas arrive?
Probably 5 minutes after the movie had started, and it just took him a little bit to settle in.
Where did they settle in? Right in front of you?
In front of me and down maybe 6 seats, probably.
Tell me what happened.
They were talking, and they weren't I mean, at first it was like, we have our seats now and that kind of thing. But then they kept talking. It wasn't about the movie. They were talking about how they got there and things like that. They were just chatting. And people were staring at them. Finally, I said, please be quiet. And Mr. Haas turned to me and said, we're not being loud enough to disturb you. So then they were quiet for like 10 minutes, and I didn't care. If he had to call me so he'd be quiet, I didn't care.
Okay.
But then they started again. And again, it wasn't, what did she say or anything? It was just chit-chat. So I got up to leave. I figured, I'm not going to be happy here. There's no point. And as I walked past, I walked right past his head. And I had a big soda in my hand, and I poured it over his head.
Shh. Okay.
So then people laughed, and he jumped up and said, you're going to go to jail for assault if I have anything to say about it, and started running and carrying on. And I was leaving, and he was following me, and I figured he's just going to get my license plate, and he can call the police and tell them what a mean lady I am. And instead, I had this book bag. It was heavy enough that it carried books in it. It wasn't like a shopping bag or anything, but it was made out of like a plastic material. And he grabbed it and ripped it in half. I don't have it. I gave it to the police. I wasn't sure if I could take him physically, so I decided to just wait for the police to get there.
And they came and they issued citations to both of you?
At his insistence.
Okay. Mr. Haas, let's take it step by step. Did you arrive 5 minutes after the movie started?
The credits were still rolling.
I don't care what 5 minutes after the movie started, you arrived.
About?
Why?
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 Well, it was actually the right time to arrive.
Why?
Well, we didn't have to watch the previews.
Yeah, but people got to a movie theater and they settled in, and the movie theater went dark, and then you decide, quite selfishly, to arrive. If you said to me, you didn't mean to arrive late, we just arrived late because we hit traffic or the car wouldn't start or whatever, what you're telling me is you don't have to go in to see the credits and to hear the opening salvo. You just get there when the first word is uttered. So it was the right time. You planned it that way.
Yes.
Well, that's rude. Very rude. And when you sat down, were you speaking to your friend?
A few words.
Why? You've already been rude, arriving late. Other people are there. 30 people arrived on time, settled themselves down. Not only do you arrive late so that your big bodies are blocking the screen so that people can't see it as you're going to sit down in your seats, but you sit down and then you start to talk.
There were only a half a dozen people in the theater, and
What difference does it make? There were more than you.
And our bodies didn't block any screen viewing.
How do you know that?
Because there was only a half a dozen people in the theater.
Mr. Haas, so you telling me that your chatter didn't bother anybody else because there were only 6 people in the theater?
A word or two passed between friends isn't chatter.
I don't believe that that's what happened, Mr. Haas. I don't believe that. And I'm not even going to ask him because you didn't say, I'm glad we got here. Fine, I'm going to be quiet. You were talking to him. She asked you to be quiet. And according to you, you said, not talking loud enough to bother you. And you did call her a name. You acknowledged that. Is that
Yes.
right? Well, you're rude and disrespectful. I'm not saying that she had any right whatsoever to do what she did. But I want to tell you something. Most of the people who are sitting here in the courthouse today, as well as Bird, certainly myself, have been in positions where we've gone to the theater, we're respecting the rights of others, and some people who are totally self-absorbed, selfish people can ruin their good time by sitting and chatting because they just don't give a damn about anybody else, and that was you and your friend. Right?
I guess so.
You're damn right.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
There's a passive-aggressive piece of you, sir. I'm not exactly sure what the diagnosis would be, but while she needs some anger management classes, you probably need a couple of good hours on a shrink's couch.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Michael Haas claims his eyes were burned when Linda Terhune dumped soda on his head at a movie theater. Linda says Michael wouldn't stop talking during the film.
Mr. Haas, I am totally unsympathetic with you. I just want you to know that. You were rude, and she had had it up to here. So, Now, prove to me, other than your wounded ego and your damp shirt, what injuries you sustained.
Shortly after leaving the theater, I had to take my contact lenses out that they were bothering me. I tried to call my eye doctor because my eyes were burning. It was over the Veterans Day holiday, so I wasn't able to see my eye doctor, until the following Tuesday. And then when I did go to the eye doctor, I was diagnosed with a chemical burn in my eyes.
Show me.
In here.
Are these two different office visits?
Yes.
I'm just looking for the date on here.
11/12 was the first date.
So 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So 6 days later, you went to the doctor for the first time. Is that right?
It was Veterans Day weekend and all the doctors were unavailable.
No, that's not true. Doctors are available. They're available in an emergency room if you have a chemical burn in your eye. So what were your out-of-pocket expenses, sir?
About $1,295.
Show me. I see one bill for $40 and one bill for, well, this I don't understand, sir. February 19th, 2003, you went to the doctor for $305.
That was as a result of not being able to wear my contact lenses anymore. I had to get eyeglasses.
That doesn't say that here at all. It doesn't say that here at all. Yeah. I don't buy it, sir. So you can take this back. Now, let's get up to $1,200 and some odd dollars. Where is that from?
In addition to needing to go to the eye doctor, evidently when the contents of her cup were dumped on my head and I jumped up from my chair, I sprung my back and went to the chiropractor.
See the groans? Let me see the chiropractor. While you're looking for that, Mr. Haas, did you sprain your back before or after you've chased her out into the parking lot and grabbed her backpack?
Well, there was no chase to the parking lot. This was a mall theater. She tried to escape when I was trying to call the police.
Please, was the injury before or after you grabbed her backpack?
It was before.
Okay. Now let me see the report from the chiropractor. Sir, these are just bills. You have a report from the chiropractor?
They're paid bills.
I'm asking you if you have a report from the chiropractor.
No.
No. Then you know that this is nonsense. So far, the only bill I have is $40 for your eye exam on or about the 12th of November. What else?
In addition to the chiropractor.
Chiropractor I'm not considering,
In
so I don't
addition
know
to
whether
the
you
eye
sprained your...
doctor.
Listen to me, I don't know whether you sprained your back hopping into your car. I don't know whether you sprained your back or neck at all. I have no idea. When you come to court, you have to have a doctor's report. A doctor's report will tell you exactly what you were treated for, what you complained of, what your symptoms were. Paid bills is not it. What else?
There was more to the eyes than just a $40 bill. How much is your eyesight worth to you?
How much is my eyesight worth? I don't know. How was your eyesight between the time that she poured the soda on your head and today? What has been the progression of your eye disease?
Well, I used to wear contact lenses all of the time, and after the incident where the contents of the cup were dumped on my eyes, I have never been able to wear contacts again. That's why I had to buy eyeglasses.
As I said, I'm not excusing the defendant's behavior. I think that she acted inappropriately in a juvenile manner, and I am unsympathetic. I'm also unsympathetic, sir, with your request for $3,000 in medical expenses and pain and suffering because somebody just got really annoyed enough at you and your rudeness to act out her worst fantasy, which was to get up and pour her drink over your head and say, you annoyed me and the rest of the people in this theater, and now I'm going to annoy you and make your life a little bit miserable, because all I wanted to do this morning was come and see a very good movie, and you destroyed that moment for me, you and your chatty friend, and I'm going to get even with you. And everybody here has had a moment like that. You had no right to do that. She also had no right to throw soda on him. By the way, did you ever at any time apologize to her for using profanity and calling her a name?
No, I would expect that she would apologize to me and be responsible for taking some anger management course.
Mm-hmm. What's the name of... Gee, there used to be a woman who dealt in etiquette. I'm trying to think. Miss Manners. She owes you an apology. She does. You owe her an apology.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Michael Haas claims his eyes were burned when Linda Terhune dumped soda on his head at a movie theater. Linda says Michael wouldn't stop talking during the film.
Now, he had out-of-pocket expense of $40. I'm giving him 10 times those damages, $400. Now, there's a passive-aggressive piece of you, sir. I'm not exactly sure what the diagnosis would be, but it's certainly passive-aggressive. Because if you can go into a public theater and somebody says to you, could you please be quiet? And instead of just saying, well, I didn't realize I was disturbing somebody, turn around and curse them, and then continue to annoy them, there is some passive aggressiveness about you. And while she needs some anger management classes, you probably need a couple of good hours on a shrink's couch. That's it, $400 for the plaintiff.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Well, I think it speaks volumes to the lack of gentility that we now have in our country, where someone can assault you in a public place and skate as easily as Mr. Hune did.
The only thing that surprises me is that more people don't pour sodas on Mr. Haas's head.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Weber versus Crittenden. Step forward, please.
Homemaker Lisa Weber is suing her neighbor, Sarah Crittenden, for the cost to replace a car window. Lisa says Sarah's 7-year-old son, Zach, broke it when he threw a rock at her daughter.
Miss Weber, is this your daughter?
Yes,
And who is this gentleman?
my husband.
I'd like your husband to stand up with you. It is your claim that the defendant's little boy threw a rock and hit the window of your car, breaking it.
Yes.
Is that right? When did that happen?
August the 1st, it was on a Friday night.
Shattering the window.
Were you outside, sir?
Yes, I was.
Did you see this happen?
I didn't actually see the rock leave his hand, but I was standing right next to the window with my neighbor, and it flew right in front of me and hit the window.
Was it in the front yard of
Yes,
your
ma'am.
house?
I was in a driveway.
Is that where your daughter had been playing?
Yeah, she was out there with me.
So this is what I gather happened. And this is from putting together some pieces. Your daughter was outside playing in the front yard, and so was Mrs. Crittenden's son, whose name is?
Zach.
And your name is?
Ashley?
Ashley was trying to get Zachary to go home.
Yes.
Is that right, Ashley? You can come over and stand next to your father. And you are 12 years old,
Yes.
and Zachary is 7. And at some point, Ashley picked up a rock and threw it in Zachary's direction, where he was standing in a flower bed. Isn't that right, Ashley?
No, I was throwing it in the flower bed.
Which is where he happened to be standing.
Yes.
And it hit him.
He jumped in front of it.
It hit him.
Yes.
But Zachary picked up the rock.
I'm speaking. So Zachary picked up the rock that you threw at him, right?
Yes.
And he threw it back at you.
Yes.
And that's the rock that hit your car, right?
I believe so, yes.
So what I want to know, Mr. Weber, where were you when your 12-year-old daughter threw a rock at 7-year-old Zachary?
I was standing right in the driveway talking to my neighbor.
Why didn't you stop her?
I had already told Zach to leave. I didn't even see with them going on there. My neighbor told him to get off the property.
Why?
Because Zach is a little bit high-strung. He destroys a lot of stuff. Matter of fact, a week before that, he pulled a knife on the same neighbor and told him to get out of the yard.
Just a second. I'm talking about August 1st.
That was
your daughter... I'm speaking. I'm talking about August 1st when your daughter threw a rock that hit him. Didn't you say something to her?
No, I didn't see it.
And you didn't see him throw a rock that hit your window?
I never seen it leave his hand.
Who saw that?
Me?
What exactly did you see, Ashley?
He just threw the rock.
What rock?
The rock that was in the flower bed.
The rock that you had thrown at him?
Yes.
Didn't you think you could hurt him if you threw a rock at him?
Yes.
So why did you do it?
I don't know.
I don't know either. What did you think he was supposed to do when you threw a rock at him?
I don't know.
I don't know either. Did you think a little 7-year-old who's much younger than you are might get angry and pick up the rock and throw it back at you?
Yes.
You did think about that, didn't you?
No.
You just told me yes. You mean you thought if you threw it at him that he would just run away and go home?
No.
Well, what did you think he might do?
I don't know.
Why do you think she should be responsible for your car?
Because the whole situation was
My daughter was trying to get him out of the yard, was chasing him out of the yard. He picked up the rock and threw it at her first and hit her in the arm. So she picked up the rock to throw it back, and he jumped in front of the rock. This was just what I was told.
How can you jump in front of a rock?
Shh. I don't believe he hit her with the rock, because you didn't say that in your complaint. You say in your complaint he threw a rock at her and she picked up the same rock and tossed it into a flower bed where he was standing. She missed the flower bed and accidentally hit him with the rock. Nowhere in here do you say that he hit her with a rock.
But he threw the rock at her first.
That's not what I'm saying. So he didn't hit her with the rock because you would have said it if he hit her first. Right?
Yes.
I think you have to watch out at your own house before you throw rocks at somebody else. The person who started this problem was your 12-year-old daughter, who should have known better.
That's not true.
Who should have known a lot better. She picked up a rock because she's bigger, stronger, older, and threw a rock at him and hit him with the father standing outside, and I don't believe he didn't see what was going on.
I didn't see what was going on.
Then you take responsibility and fix your own car window. Your case is dismissed. That's all.
This is a...
Yeah, it's case number 291 on the calendar in the matter of Leal versus Ellis. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Who are you?
I'm a witness for my brother, Bobby Leal.
Mr. Leal, the defendant used to be your girlfriend, and according to you, she owes you some money for 2 items of clothing that you purchased for her.
That's correct.
And that you want back a piece of jewelry that you gave to her.
That's correct.
Okay, so tell me how long you and the defendant dated.
Okay, we were dated approximately 8 months.
From when to when?
I believe it was from September to May. That's when the breakup, May 21st, May 22nd was the breakup.
Okay, and when was the first loan that you claim to have made to her?
That was approximately December 21st.
Of what year?
Of 2002.
December of 2002. Well, tell me about that loan, sir.
That was for a Raider jersey.
A Raiders jersey?
That's correct.
A shirt?
No, it's a jersey. It's a throwback jersey. It's not a shirt.
It's to cover the upper part of your body.
That's correct. Now, I had purchased Oakland Raider tickets to go to the Oakland Coliseum and watch the Raiders play Kansas City Chiefs. Now, she wanted to go to the game. I had purchased 4 tickets. One for me, one for my brother, one for my sister. So I told her, okay, I have an extra ticket. You know, you willing to go? She said, yeah. Now that was the 21st of December. Okay, now the game was December 28th. Now she was complaining about how she didn't have a jersey and she had nothing to wear. So I told her, you can wear anything you want. It doesn't matter to me. And she goes, she threw a big fit, and I said, okay, fine. What do you want to do? She goes, I'll pay for a jersey if you purchase me a jersey so I can go to the game with you.
So
I don't want to look funny at the game. I said, fine. You're going to pay me back? She said, yeah. That was the first loan.
Okay. Now, what was the next loan for?
The next loan was basically March 27th. I loaned her a dress that she's supposed to pay me back for.
Well, tell me about the dress. It wasn't your dress, was it?
No, it wasn't. The dress that I purchased for her was a dress that she needed for a prom that she invited me to.
She invited you to her prom?
That's correct.
And tell me how it came about that you purchased a dress for her.
Okay. Her mother would not buy her anything for the prom because of the fact that she was with me, and her mother hated my guts. Why? I have no idea.
And you were her boyfriend?
That's correct, Your Honor.
And you had been her boyfriend since September of 2002?
That's correct.
And this was March 2003?
That's correct.
And she wanted to go to the prom. Her mother wouldn't help her out. So what did she say to you?
What happened was we had went to the school to pay for the tickets for the prom. Now, the tickets, that was a gift for me to pay for the tickets. I paid for the tickets with my expense. Now, the dress, she told me, okay, you know, my mother won't buy me a dress and I don't have no money, I'm broke. Would you be able to buy me a dress and I'll pay you back with my child support money that I get every month? I said, okay, we can do that. So what happened is I purchased a dress as a loan for Catherine.
Okay. Now, from December 2002 until March 27th, 2003, did she pay you back for the jersey?
She didn't pay me back for anything, Your Honor.
So after you made this loan to her, which she did not fulfill, is that right? You lent her even more money for the dress. Is that right?
Yes, but the dress was a loan.
And what about the jersey?
The jersey was also a loan, too.
Well, that's what I'm saying to you, sir. After she didn't pay you back for the jersey, didn't pay you back in December, January, February, March. She didn't pay you back, so you lent her more money for the dress.
That's correct.
Okay. Now, what about this jewelry you want returned?
Oh, this jewelry was a symbol of our relationship, okay? It was two gold open hearts with a real fine necklace that goes around the neck, Your Honor. That necklace...
When did you give it to her, Mr. Leo?
I did not give it to her. It was a symbol of our relationship that was for
When
us.
did you give it to her? If you took it out of your hand and you put it on her neck, then you gave it to her.
I would say before the prom.
What month?
I have no idea.
So you don't remember?
I don't remember what month.
Shh. Sorry. Okay. As a symbol of your relationship, now the relationship is over, you want it back.
That's correct.
All right. Now, are you a witness to what?
I'm a witness to the prom dress.
Step up. Tell me your last name.
Guerrero?
Okay. You're his sister.
Yes.
What are you a witness to?
2 weeks before the prom, I had asked her if she had anything to wear to the prom, because I know her mom and her didn't get along, and they were always just talking really bad about each other, so I asked her if she had anything to wear. And she said, you know, Bobby bought me a dress and I'm going to pay him back as soon as, you know, I get some money. And I said, okay. And so we just actually began speaking about other things.
Good. I see. Okay. Now, Miss Ellis, let's start with the jersey. Let's have, in 30 seconds or less, your version of the jersey, please.
We were at the mall, and he decided, oh, there's Raiders tickets I would like to buy. So we shopped around, he bought a jersey, and he told me, you know, if you want to go to the game, you got to get a jersey. He wasn't going to let me go to the game
That's wrong, Your Honor.
Did she interrupt you when you were speaking?
Without...
Shh. Did she interrupt you when you were speaking?
No, ma'am.
Then don't interrupt her. Go ahead.
He wasn't going to let me go to the game without wearing...
So you're saying he just bought you the jersey?
He bought the jersey, he threw a fit and made me pick one out. So I did.
Good. The next thing that happened was this gold chain. Do you remember when that was?
That was in March. I don't know the exact day, but it was in March. I got, for Valentine's Day, a card stuck to my front door that says, your gift will come soon, on it. You want to look at that?
Please.
In March, he went out shopping.
Okay.
He didn't say anything about it being a promise
Whatever,
type
it's a
of
gift.
thing.
It's a gift. He doesn't get that back. Doesn't get that back to her.
That's basically the necklace.
Perfect. Now let's get to the prom dress.
I decided I was going to go to prom, and I asked him, obviously he was my boyfriend, so I asked him if he wanted to go. He agreed. He was all excited, hyped up about going, and...
look at me. Look at me.
Sorry.
So far you're batting 1,000. Let's not tell anything that's untrue.
I'm not.
Good.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
This chick, this little girl, she cheated on me.
Listen,
hold on a second.
Mr. Leo. No, Mr. Leo.
Okay, I work.
No! You hold on!
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Bobby Leal says ex-girlfriend Catherine Ellis owes for a prom dress, a Raiders jersey, and a necklace he says was a symbol of their relationship.
So you asked him to go to the prom?
I asked him to go to the prom. He agreed. He wanted me to look good. Obviously, we went dress shopping for about a week or so, and he found the dress that I actually got, and he purchased it.
You mean he found it without you there?
No. We found the dress, and he
bought it. You were together?
Yeah.
You were together? No,
yeah.
The question is...
No, it was not alone. I never agreed to pay him back for it. It was not alone. He was my boyfriend. It was, you know, the thing to do. And
okay. Did you ever have a conversation with Miss Guerrero, his sister?
No, I
about
did
the
not.
Dress? Yes.
She did have a conversation at my house telling me that my brother bought her a dress and that she was going to pay him back as soon as she got money.
That never happened.
I told her that he bought the dress, yes, but I never
that you were going to
told
pay
her
him back.
I never told her that I was going to pay him back. I wouldn't tell somebody that.
Okay.
If it
How much was
wasn't
the
alone.
dress, Mr. Leal?
I got the receipt right here.
Yeah.
And I got the pictures of the prom day with the necklace. If you'd like to take a look at that, Your Honor.
No. The dress was $86.37?
That's correct.
Okay. Listen to me very carefully, Mr. Leal. I do not believe that...
Please?
Sit down now. The jersey that you purchased for her, you purchased for her as a gift in December of 2002.
That is not correct, Your Honor.
No, it is correct because I say it is correct for the purposes of these proceedings, Mr. Leal. The necklace that you bought for her was a gift. You don't get those things back.
Your Honor,
I'm speaking. The dress, however, I believe she said she would pay you back for, because I believe your sister, and I believe you to the extent that when you went shopping for the dress for her, it was your intention and her intention to pay you for the cost of the dress, not for the jersey, not for the necklace. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Miss Ellis, I don't believe you that you never had a conversation with Miss Guerrero with regard to the dress. I believe that you did in fact say to her that Bobby bought me the dress and I'm going to pay him back, and you are going to pay him back. It's $86.37. The necklace, of course, is yours. What do you want?
I wanted to say something to you, Your Honor, that was really important. Okay, the time being that I was with Miss Catherine Ellis, okay, there's been times where I work graveyard shift, okay? I work graveyard shift every single day. And every single day that I was with her, this chick, this little girl, she cheated on me.
Listen
Hold on a
to me,
second.
Mr. Leal. No,
Hold on a
Mr.
second.
Leal.
Okay, I work.
No, you hold on. You have to put a period and get over your anger.
Right.
Listen to me.
What about the child?
No, you have to put a period, Mr. Leal, and get over your anger.
Right.
She broke up with you.
Right.
It's over.
No sympathy at all. That's correct.
It's over. It's
Right.
over. This is not a long-term marriage that you had. This was a
correct.
relationship that you have, and relationships end, and sometimes they're better off ending before they become more serious, before you have a baby, before you have bills and things that you've accumulated together, right? I want you to start absorbing what I'm saying to you. You just want to talk. I'm not your psychiatrist. I'm not your psychologist. I'm not your therapist. I am a judge. I am here to determine three things. Whether the jersey was a gift, I say it was a gift. Whether you get the necklace back, that was also a gift. The dress, however, the cost of the dress was a loan, which I find she promised to pay you back. That ends your legal interaction with Miss Ellis.
And what about this?
Do
right
you
here?
want?
What about her sending a bunch of guys?
Listen to me. Listen to me.
Okay.
That ends your legal action with Miss Ellis.
Okay.
And if you are smart, you will end all contact with her. She will end all contact with you. You will go home with your sister, who is a little concerned about you. There's no question. I look at Miss Guerrero and I say to myself, she's a little worried about him, that he's going to fly off the handle. Don't fly off the handle. It's over. You will have another interest in your life. You will have another relationship in your... Perfect.
Okay,
Then you get
that's not the point.
$86.37 from her. Bird, I've had it. Say goodbye to these people for me.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Respect.
Next case.
All parties in the matter of Daggett versus Martinez. Step forward, please.
Teacher Marcy Daggett is suing dog groomer Angelina Martinez for the value of a Yorkshire Terrier. Marcy says while Angelina was pet sitting, the dog ran away.
Miss Daggett, I assume you knew Miss Martinez before you asked her to dog sit for your two Yorkies. Is that right?
This was the third time that she'd watched them, and
She'd watched them before, so...
Right.
You brought the dogs over there?
Yes.
For how long?
It was an indefinite time.
What do you mean indefinite? I don't understand.
Because our dogs had been barking and bothering the neighbors, and we weren't really sure what we should do with our dogs, or how to train them, or what to do with them. And Angelina was going to watch them while we decided what to do with them.
And according to your complaint, one of the dogs got out. Or one of the dogs is gone, lost, stolen, dug a hole under the fence, according to the defendant, and is gone. And you want to be compensated for that dog.
Yes, Your Honor.
Miss Martinez?
Yes.
What happened to her dog?
At 4:30, I let the dog and two of my dogs outside to go potty, and 5:15, I brought them back inside, and I couldn't find Zoe. And she's real small, so sometimes she runs in and hides underneath the bed or under there. So I thought she had run in the house, and I had to go to my son's back to school night. So we left real quick, and then came back and started looking for Zoe, and that was about an hour time lapse from that. And we started looking for her, we realized that she wasn't in the house at all, or in the backyard.
So when you didn't see her, you went out anyway?
Yeah.
This is such an easy case. They should all be this easy. How much did you pay for Zoe?
$850.
You don't have a bill of sale, do you?
I have the canceled check.
Okay, I'd see it. How old was she?
Just over a year, about a year and 3 months.
Okay, you want to explain to me why, Miss Martinez, you don't feel as if you're responsible minimally for what Miss Daggett paid for her dog?
Well, I have a copy of the purchase agreement of her dog, and there is no price for it.
Well, let me see it. Go ahead.
And so I offered to replace the dog with another dog of greater value. At that time, she was not ready for another dog.
I have a check dated the same day as the puppy sale agreement. The check is a canceled check for $850.
I also have a bill of sale for the male that she bought the same day, and it says $680.
Well, that may be, but females are usually more expensive.
Right.
So you mean it's just the cost of the dog that you question, is that right?
Right.
Okay, well, don't question it. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $850, that's all.
Parties action. The answer is case number 269 on the calendar in the matter of Dubois versus Clevenger. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat, please.
All right, I'm a little confused, so I have to try to clarify a few issues in my own mind. Ms. Dubois, the defendant is the former wife of your current boyfriend. And you were living with your boyfriend, is this boyfriend?
Mark.
In a home that was previously the marital home, is that right? Ms. Clevenger filed an application for a protective order on behalf of herself and her daughter after an alleged incident involving you and her teenage daughter. That was filed in what month and year?
September 2002.
Now, Ms. Clevenger was in fact given a protective order for 12 months?
12 months.
And when was that protective order signed?
September 25th, 2002.
That order excluded you from the house?
When the children were there.
When the children were there. It excluded you when the daughter was there. Sometime later, you went to court to try to have the protective order vacated.
Dismissed, yeah.
When was that?
I'm not sure, maybe a month or two later.
7 months later, ma'am.
I thought, according to the papers that I read, it was in March of 2003.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So in March of 2003, you went to court to try to have the protective order vacated.
Yeah.
At that time, the judge told you, you can't have it vacated. You have to wait until it's over, which is another 4 or 5 months, whatever it is. While you were both in court outside near the clerk's office, there was an incident, according to you, involving Mr. and Mrs. Clevenger, but you claim that she filed a violation petition against you, claiming that you had in fact threatened her. Were you arrested?
I was.
And you were taken into custody. Ultimately, that charge was dismissed. Now, am I correct that what you are suing for is not the original protective order, but suing for the false charge that you claim that the defendant made with regard to the violation of the order of protection?
Actually, both.
Well, you can't file for both. So that's what I have to explain to you right from the get-go. A judge has granted her an order of protection. I do not look behind that to see whether or not the judge made a mistake or not. I'm not an appeals court for a judge. If the subsequent case after the March incident, when the judge denied the application, and I will find out what that is about, that is something that I can hear. Now, Ms. Clevenger has a counterclaim. Your counterclaim says that because she filed the petition to vacate the order of protection, you had to get a lawyer. Then you had to go back to court with regard to this second case, and you had to miss a lot of days' work because of all of this order of protection stuff. And that's what you're suing for. It's nonsense. You initiated the protective order. You don't get paid for that. Do you understand? Yes. Okay. I mean, I don't know what else there is. You have no claim for anything else.
I wrote down there for strangling my daughter. My daughter's been in intense therapy. Heroin was shot into her.
Listen to me.
Okay.
You didn't say anything about heroin in your case here. You say that your daughter was held down and strangled by the plaintiff.
No, she was shoved and she was picked up by her throat.
Okay. I'm not hearing it.
Okay.
What's your daughter's name?
Sydney Clevenger.
Do you see Sydney, sir?
Yes, I do.
How often? Stand up.
Yeah, I should stand up then.
How often?
Pretty much every weekend.
Okay. She comes to your home?
Yes.
Does she have any contact with the plaintiff?
No, by order.
By order of the court?
Yes.
She's fine?
Very fine.
She's fine with you?
Very much so.
And your daughter is a teenager?
Yes.
She knows that you have a relationship with Mr. Dubois?
Yes.
She knows that she lives with you when Sydney isn't there?
She actually does not live with me.
She doesn't live with you anymore?
No.
But she knows that you are still in a relationship?
Yes.
And she doesn't hold that against you and say to you, by God, she strangled me, she assaulted me, how could you possibly have anything to do with it? She doesn't say that to you.
Occasionally she does at the beginning of this incident, but it's gone away pretty much.
Were you there when this alleged incident took place?
No.
These two ladies didn't get along?
My daughter and her?
Yeah.
At her instigating.
Well, that's what you say.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not hearing it. I'm not hearing your counterclaim with regard to this strangulation. She's fine. Now, let's get to your lawsuit with regard to the false charge that inspired the violation of the protective order which caused you to be arrested. Let's get to the arrest itself. I want you to tell me where that took place.
At my place of work.
Who came to your place of employment?
2 sheriffs.
Had you gotten any previous notice of it?
No, I did not, Your Honor.
And when did they come to your place of employment?
This original supposed breaking was 2 weeks after the September event, and then in March was when I was arrested.
You mean the alleged breach of the protective order was in September?
Yes. The same day we went to court on the 25th when she got the original permanent.
Can I see the complaint for the violation? Ms. Clevenger, the date you went to court on the petition for protective order, you claimed that after you left court, she violated the order.
Yeah, it's all right here.
You claimed that she violated the order.
They both violated it in the clerk's office.
Did you have a protective order against him?
There's been one against him.
Was it ongoing at that time?
Yes, it was.
Okay. So you filed against both of them?
Not on September 25th. It was the protection order was filed for Eden Clevenger, Sydney Clevenger, and myself. It was signed on September 25th.
Listen to what I'm saying to you, madam. The violation that you allege happened the same date that you got a final order of protection.
Yes.
And it happened outside of the courtroom, inside the clerk's office. And it is your claim that both of them had orders of protection against them at that time, both your former husband and his girlfriend.
I know I got one that day for Miss Dubois, and we went up to the clerk's office.
So he didn't have one?
I believe he did from a while back, from March.
Did you or not?
No, I didn't.
No.
I thought we did have one.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Well, she used the F word.
Really? Let me see whether you say to the police that she said that to you. You don't. You mean this is all coming back to you as you're standing here now?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Deborah Dubois says her fiancé's ex-wife, Vicki Clevenger, falsely accused her of assaulting her daughter. Deborah also claims Vicki falsely charged her with violating a restraining order.
The only thing that this police report says is that the police contacted Patty in the clerk's office, and she said she and Susie had heard Clevenger begin to talk loudly, telling someone to go away and leave her alone. So it's clear that nobody in the clerk's office, based upon the police report, could verify anything except that you were talking loudly. This was in September. Does anybody know why they did not come to arrest this lady until March?
I do.
Why?
Because the address that was placed on the police report was my old address when she knew full well I lived with Mark. So the summons got delivered to the house, and I never received it. The post office returned it, and then since I didn't go to court, they issued a bench warrant, I guess, and picked me up when they figured out where I was.
Between September, when you filed this,
on September 25th,
and March, did you have any other contact with the plaintiff?
No.
So it's clear that the plaintiff was not doing anything to bother you between September and March. Is that right?
She bothered me in the clerk's office that day.
Did you hear what I said? I want you to pay attention to what I said.
Yes.
Between September and March, September, October, November, December, January, February, March, she doesn't have anything to do with you. She's not in the house when your daughter is there. So why didn't you withdraw this complaint that you had made?
I had no idea that they forwarded it to the prosecutor's office, and the only address on the police report is the 35528 where she was living at. I never gave a wrong address. I've never known where she's lived.
Yes, you did. You knew she lived, just a second.
Yeah, and it's on the police report. 355.
You knew she lived with your former husband.
It's on the front of the police report, the address. I gave the detective.
Okay. I just want to know whether between September and March, you had any other conversations with any members of the police department or the prosecutor's office?
I did not get a call from the prosecutors till March. The advocate's office called me for domestic violence.
This was before she was arrested?
I'm not sure if it was before or after. I think it all happened after she was, because they sent me a letter in the mail. So I had no idea that they were even pursuing this.
Tell me what happened in the clerk's office.
I went up to the clerk's office and I was standing in line. They proceeded to walk into the clerk's office.
Because each of you had to get a copy of the protective order.
Right, and I was like I was in line in front of them. And then I had to scoot over to another line, and they were verbally abusing me.
Tell me what they said.
They said I was a nutcase, I'm a psycho, they just really verbally abused me.
Who's they?
These two.
I want you to tell me who said what.
Mark Clevenger and Deborah Dubois were standing in line humiliating me.
That's a conclusion. I want you to tell me what he said.
You'll never get the kids. This is not going to work. This is going to be dismissed. You're a nutcase. You're a psychopath. Nobody's ever going to believe you.
Okay, so that's what he said.
Well,
now I want you to tell me what she said.
Do I have to say these words?
Yes.
She called me a psycho. This'll never. They both just.
No. Don't confuse one with the other. Listen to me very carefully.
Okay.
She didn't repeat exactly the same thing he said, so I assume.
She used the F word.
And what did she say?
You're.
Really? Let me see.
I did not say.
Let me see whether you say to the police in your complaint that she said that to you. You don't.
I don't want to use
You told
that
the
word.
police that they told her you're a nutcase, you're a psycho, this will never work, you'll never get the kids.
And
you didn't say the F word. You didn't say anything else when this first happened, September 25th. You mean this is all coming back to you as you're standing here now? No. They may have said things to you. They are not a unit. If your ex-husband was saying these things to you and they were standing together, they cannot be construed to be one person. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
Good. And I don't believe the other baloney that you just gave me, because it's not in your police report that you filed the same day as the incident happened.
I was too humiliated to file it.
I don't believe you, Miss Clevenger.
Okay.
I don't believe that, because I believe that if you are smart enough to go for a protective order, you list everything that happens. You want the police and the court to know the most venal of things that happened, so you would report it. It's not that you were humiliated. It's not that you were frightened, because you knew to go to the police immediately, and you would tell them everything. Now, so don't embellish to me. What happened is she made this complaint because she got very angry at what went on in the clerk's office. And I'm going to tell you something. I believe that it probably did, that there were words in the clerk's office. Miss Dubois, I don't know whether the words came from you or came from him. I'm not sure. Maybe a little bit of both. She was angry, so she went to the police. That was in September. They didn't act on it. Unfortunately, somebody had a day when they didn't have a whole lot of work to do, and they found you. I don't know how they found you at work. Do you know how they found you at work?
They went to my original address that she gave them, and my ex-boyfriend said she's at work.
Okay. Now, what happened when you went to court on this violation petition?
It was completely dismissed because she cannot get a domestic violence restraining order against me with her name on it. She could on behalf of the children, but the fact that she added in her name and everything was totally illegal. Can I say one other thing to you?
Sure.
If you noticed, the police report was filed 6 hours later in a different police station because she'd found out he was going to take her back to court. So,
listen to me.
All anger.
Listen to me. There were words that transpired in the clerk's office. I believe that one or both of you was so furious and said things that you probably shouldn't have in the clerk's office. Is that a fair statement, Mr. Clevenger?
Absolutely.
Okay. And she seized the moment and acted upon it. Did she do the wrong thing? She should have let it go, because the people that ultimately suffer with regard to that are the children. And I would assume that since you have regular contact with your children, that this has created a strain between the two of you.
I actually have custody of one of my daughters, but...
Which child?
The oldest one, Eden.
How old is Eden?
Just turned 16.
Did you have custody of your daughter, too, for a period of time?
For the past 6 years, full custody.
And it wasn't until after this incident that Sydney went back to her mother, is that right?
Yes, it was a stepping stone to modify the custody.
And so that's been for about a year
Yes.
that Sydney's been with her mother.
Yes.
Don't throw out her bed.
Oh, I will not. It's already made.
What?
1997, Mark and I resided together till 2002. We shared full custody with each other. I moved out of the house October 2000. Then he moved all these people in the house and then moved her in.
Madam.
He didn't have custody. We shared custody. I lived with him. We were a unit.
Is your older child living with him on a full-time basis?
Yes.
And your younger daughter, shh, listen to me very carefully. And your younger daughter, immediately preceding September of 2002, I don't care if it was for an hour or for a week or for a month, she lived with her father.
We shared the kids equally.
I don't believe that. Do you have an order?
Yeah,
I'd like to see the order. Immediately prior to September of 2002.
Yeah, I had him prior.
Let me.
The order that was set in 97, but we got back together for 6 years.
Did you hear what I said? I said immediately prior to September of 2002. I don't care if it's a week or a month. Let me see the order where you share 50-50 custody.
I was living in the house. We both had 50-50. I moved out.
You are not living in the house in July of 2002, right?
I moved out October 1st, 2001.
You're not paying attention. You're not paying attention. I said immediately preceding September of 2002, you were not living with your former husband, and your daughter was not living with you full-time.
She was.
And you said
4 days a week.
And I said, let me see the
order.
order.
We never went by the order.
I said, let me see the order.
I don't have that order. I mean, we shared the kids.
I'd like to see the order. Could I see the order, Bird? She has the order.
This is the parenting plan.
Not after.
It's not after. It's what was in effect.
It was. We never went by that.
Can I just see the order, please? This schedule provides that upon enrollment in school, the children shall reside with their father.
That was in 1997.
I don't care what it is. That's what the order is.
But we did.
That's what the order is. No, this is an order where you had full custody of the children. She had visitation. Okay, listen to me. I'm sorry I can't help you. I'm sorry I can't help you for the following reason. She had a right to go in and file for a violation of this protective order because she, in her mind, said, you violated the order by saying nasty things to me. When I say you, she's talking about the cumulative you. And I would assume that both of you had some things to say standing on line. I'm not going to revisit that. I think that her violation petition was probably dismissed in the entirety because the order of protection was not for her. It was on behalf of Sydney, who was a minor, and perhaps she didn't understand that. I think she has a problem understanding things, period. So I'm sorry that you suffered by virtue of this, but you should have kept your mouth shut in the clerk's office, sir. It would have been the smarter and wiser thing to do, because then she would have had absolutely no basis whatsoever to go in and file this. Ms. Clevenger, you have absolutely no basis to counterclaim, no basis for your lawsuit.
Excuse me, this order was, it says the petitioner and her children on this September 25th.
Can I ask you a question? Are you not hearing me?
I'm hearing you.
I just dismissed the case against
Thank you.
and I told you that you have no basis to sue her. You were the person who filed for a protective order, and she is perfectly within her rights to try to go into court and say there was no basis for it. I want a rehearing, and if you had to hire a lawyer and lose days from work going into court, you precipitated it. So that's what happens. Goodbye.
Yeah, this is case number 248 on the calendar in the matter of Lassoff versus Hennon. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat, please.
A cute couple. Miss Lassoff, you and the defendant had a very brief relationship. And during that brief relationship, you decided to live together, to room together. He was going to rent a new house.
Correct.
Then the relationship went south, but you still remained friends. And since you hadn't dated very long, according to both of you, you thought that you could make this thing work by just being housemates. Mr. Hennon signed a lease for 1 year. According to him, it was your understanding that you would each pay half the rent in this place and you would live there for the year with him in 2 separate rooms. When did you move in?
June 1st.
And within 3 weeks period of time, according to you, things didn't work out because Mr. Hennon, according to you, made some advances, romantic advances towards you. You said, I wasn't interested. He started to bring other women into the house. According to him, you went crazy. It all got very nasty. So you left after 3 weeks. You want your 1 week's rent prorated because you left after 3 weeks. You say he threw you out. He said he didn't. He said you moved out on your own. And you want back at least half the value of the stuff that you bought for the house, which you say that he kept. Mr. Hennon says that you left voluntarily, and he is counterclaiming for 11 months' rent because he said he signed this lease with the oral understanding, because you didn't have a lease with him, that you were going to live there for a year, right?
Yes.
Got it?
Got it.
That's where we are. All right. Ms. Lassoff, I don't want to know about the girls that he brought into the apartment. I don't want to know about his touchy-feely with you. That's for another day. I want to know what happened the day you moved out.
Okay. Well, can I back up a little bit to say how I got kicked out?
Well, tell me how you got kicked out if that was how you left.
We just stopped getting along. You know, we just didn't get along, and he had a temper, very bad temper. I was very scared every time I was in the house. My hands would shake. He drove me to a point where I didn't eat or sleep for 6 days, and he said, "Get the F out. You're not on the lease." As I was packing up, he said, "When are you out? Because I'm about this close to throwing you out, literally." And I was scared. That wasn't a place where I could live.
Is that what happened?
No, that's not what happened.
Well, tell me what happened.
The relationship obviously went sour, and our friendship went sour. I was constantly, coming home, and she was in my room. She was even sleeping in my room at night on numerous occasions. As she was saying these, sexual advances.
Sleeping in the room with you?
Yeah, she was sleeping in my room, asking if she could stay in my room with me, and I was just getting tired of her. I couldn't handle it anymore.
So?
I did not throw her out.
No, so you got tired of her, you couldn't take it anymore, and what happened? Look at me. Look at me. Don't make it up. Shh. Don't make it up as you're going. Just continue trying to tell me the truth, because if you don't, I'll annihilate you.
When I told her to get out,
That's what I want to know. You told her to get out. When?
When she was in my bedroom standing one night, and she would not leave my room when I had a bunch of friends over, and she would not get out of my room. And I told
you told her to get out?
After she attacked me.
How did she attack you, sir?
She grabbed my neck and she grabbed my hands, and she cut me with her fingernails.
So you told her to get out?
Right.
So you did throw her out?
No, I didn't throw her out. I told her to get out of my room.
No. You told her to get out?
I told her to get out.
No. All right, so you told her to get out, and how much after you told her to get out did she get out?
10 days.
Is that right?
I was looking for an apartment the next day, and I was out in, a week, not even.
All right. The month's rent that you paid for June is gone. Kiss it goodbye.
Okay.
The security deposit, she gave you a security deposit?
That went to the landlord, not to me.
Well, you're going to get it back, right?
No, because I'm probably going to end up getting evicted because I can't afford the house on my own.
Why don't you get a roommate?
It's kind of hard to find a good roommate, obviously.
No, that's not true.
It's
what efforts have you made to find a roommate?
I had an ad in the paper. I couldn't really find him. I have a lot of personal belongings that I don't really trust just anybody coming in the house with.
So are you telling me that you have not looked for a roommate? Or you
I have. I had an ad in the newspaper.
And what happened?
I had no luck.
Really?
No, that's not true.
Well, second. You were planning to lease this house before you decided to move in with her. I read your answer.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
And how did you propose to pay the rent before you made this arrangement with her?
My brother was going to be my roommate.
Did something happen to him? Did he go to war?
He's in his own lease at an apartment.
Yes, when is it up?
Not till February.
Oh, so then he'll be able to move in with you.
But for the time being, if I
then
can't...
Then he'll be able to move in with you. When did he sign his lease?
I don't know exactly.
Well, it's usually a year lease, so if he signed it in February of 2002, which means in June, when you signed this lease, you knew your brother couldn't move in with you. You knew he couldn't move in with you in May, in April, in March.
Right.
Don't give me baloney. You see what I mean when I say I'll annihilate you?
Right.
I don't want you to look foolish,
right.
So I want you to be able to tell me the truth. Right. You have to find a roommate, sir. A housemate. It's a big house. In any event, this is the drill. How much is your security deposit?
I paid $300. It was $600.
You paid $300?
Of it, yes.
Okay. Now, what about this property? So you don't get your month's rent back or any part of it because you left. You get your security deposit back because if he keeps it nice and neat and clean, he's going to get his security deposit back. But now, what personal property do you claim that he has?
We furnished the entire house. Me and him, I have receipts, he has receipts. We split everything. I mean, rugs, paintings for the walls, furniture, just everything you need for a house. And it adds up, it's a lot. And he wouldn't let me take anything. So I basically helped this guy furnish his house. And when I asked for things at the end or for money, he said, I'm not giving you a dime.
Was it all paid for? How much did you pay? Or was it put on a credit card?
I have my debit card statements, $1,474.31, which we split. So I'm just asking for the $700 from that, and I'm asking. We put $600 worth of speakers around the pool, around the living room area, and he verbally told me I'll give you half the money for that, and we'll split up all the belongings, and I got nothing.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
The walls were empty. She took about 90% of everything that we did buy.
He wouldn't let me. I tried to. He said, "You're not taking it," and locked it in a room.
And later today.
What do you think? I'm crazy? I mean, I'm getting older, but I at least have a span of attention that lasts more than 5 minutes. They don't pay child support.
My oldest daughter's father just started paying child support.
And one's in jail, so he's not paying child support.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jennifer Lassoff says former live-in boyfriend Sean Hennon kicked her out and kept her belongings. Jennifer also says Sean owes her for rent and a security deposit.
I'm listening.
When she left the house, the walls were empty. She took about 90% of everything that we did buy.
What walls were empty?
Like where pictures were, candle holders didn't have candles in them anymore. The cupboards were empty from groceries that I had bought.
Let's talk about furniture.
The couch and everything was hers to begin with.
Did she take it?
Yes.
Okay, and what about the other things?
Other things, she took, like I said, 90% of everything.
Like what did she take? I heard so far I heard candles and pictures.
Pictures, candles.
I heard pictures and candles.
Plants.
What?
I'm trying to remember. Like candles. Plants, different plants we had bought. And also on the $1,400 she's saying for her debit card, she went out and she spent, I think it was approximately $300 or $400 on just her bedroom alone.
Which she took with her.
Right, which that stuff does not involve me.
But what about all of the things he bought, and I gave him half the money for that? That's what I'm including.
I understand that, Miss Lassoff. That was your foolishness.
I know.
Foolishness. Because there are courts for people who are married and divorced, and then even those are imperfect because you can't figure out exactly who brought what into the marriage. But we have to deal with that. What's happened is everybody now lives together. Sometimes they live together in a relationship. Even those I don't like to get into and become an arbiter of candles and food and Rice Krispies, which is what you're talking about. But I'm certainly not going to get involved with two people who rent a house. They mix their money in a real mishmash and then come here and ask Bert to try to figure it out. He has other things to do, and so do I. You're getting your security deposit back. You moved out. You took your furniture, right? Mm-hmm. So you had the ability to take certain things that you claim were yours. Did you take any pictures from the house? Yes or no?
That we bought, no. He wouldn't let me. I tried to. He said, "You're not taking it," and locked it in a room. I tried. He wouldn't let me take anything that we bought.
So you took the things when you left. You got a U-Haul it? Somebody came and helped you with a U-Haul?
I had friends help me in a U-Haul.
You're getting $300, which is your security deposit. Your counterclaim for the remaining 11 months on the lease is dismissed. Find a roommate. Got it? Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He had a very bad temper, and I was very scared.
Very possessive. I just couldn't get away from her. I couldn't deal with her anymore.
Before that, I thought he was a great guy, and I guess I just brought out the bad side of him. We just did not get along.
She just wouldn't leave me alone.
You claim that that was money that you want back now that the relationship is over because that money was really used to defray the cost of his mortgage.
Yes.
In addition, you claim that he has some personal property that belongs to you and a cat. Mr. Lemke says that the money that you paid to him was rent, that the cat belonged to him, that he had the cat prior to your moving in, and he has none of your personal property. What was the financial arrangement when you moved in, Miss Abel?
On May 7th in 2004, we discussed how I could help with expenses. Mr. Lemke brought up the fact that about $1,400 would be fair, and I offered another $100 just to call it an even $1,500 because two women, my daughter and myself, were moving in, and there's a lot of blow dryer and hot water used.
Okay,
in
so
that
you
case.
agreed to pay him $1,500 a month.
Yes, I did.
Okay, and?
And then about May 24th, after I had moved in, we'd become engaged, we had a discussion concerning my problem with the fact that I'm giving a lot of money to something that I won't get any return on. And why would I want to give $1,500 toward a mortgage that my name was not on? And Mr. Lemke said, well, I've been thinking about that, and here's what I've worked out. And I have the notes that he jotted down that day to explain to me how this money was actually an investment into his property.
Well, first tell me what he said to you.
He said that because his home appreciates $54,000 a year, over the past 10 years it had done that because it's lake property, that if you divide that number by 12 months and then again by 2 people, it comes out to about $2,200 a month in equity and investment money.
Yes.
And that is what he...
If your name was on the mortgage and if the house was titled in both of your names.
That part was left out. The fact that he...
Well,
said,
I understand
yes.
that, but I understand it's left out of your story.
Right, exactly. But he also mentioned on the same piece of paper in an email to the attorney that I'm willing to invest in his home and that upon sale of the home, I would receive the investment money back plus free equity. And that is also in the handwritten note that he gave me.
Let me see it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this note discusses a prenuptial agreement that the two of you were contemplating.
Correct.
And what he says is, Gail wants to enhance the aesthetic ambiance of my cabin and is willing to invest in it.
Mm-hmm.
Any proceeds over $775,000 would be shared in the event of a sale. Are you okay doing a prenup for both of us?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Have you sold the cabin?
No.
Well, your agreement was that when and if the house was sold, you would share in the profits and get your money back. The house hasn't been sold.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
So, you can't change the agreement because you're no longer together. You could have just as easily worked out an agreement where you said, well, that's fine. If the house is sold, I get my money back, and if we don't get married, I get some of my money back. But you didn't do that. So you didn't get your money back. The house hasn't been sold. That's your agreement.
But it was a term of our engagement and marriage as I understood it, that money was investment.
You don't make an investment just because you understood it to be an investment.
Mm-hmm.
So you never came to an agreement with regard to that, according to this. Now, you're not suggesting that Mr. Lemke agreed to support you and your daughter.
Oh, not at all.
Good.
Not at all.
So that your $1,500 a month that you paid went for the roof over your head and your daughter's head, the electric that you say you used because you're two women that use more electricity, for the heating or air conditioning or whatever else. $1,500 a month is reasonable. Get over it. Now let's get to the cat. Did you have the cat before?
Gail got the cat on her 40th birthday as a gift to herself, and shortly after I met her, gave me the cat.
When?
She said, we met February 3rd, and she gave me the cat February 20th.
Were you living together at the time?
No, she was living in her house. And she gave me the cat because the house was a total mess of animal feces and stink.
Whose
in
house?
Her house.
Yes.
And she had trouble with maintaining all the dogs and the cats in her house. So
How many dogs did she have?
I'm guessing 5 to 10.
Is that how many dogs you had?
I'm a breeder, Your Honor, and I had 5 dogs, yes, at the time.
How many cats?
2. And I would like to say that my house was not, as he mentioned.
When did you move into his house?
May 15th, 2004.
All right, so between February and May, the cat was in his house.
No, Your Honor, no. I'm sorry. The cat did not leave my home until April. I had not decided to move in with him until April. And at that point, he asked if he could take the cat ahead of time because his daughters would get a kick out of it.
Okay. When did you move out of the house?
November 26, 2004.
And when you moved out of the house, did you take the cat with you?
No, I couldn't, Your Honor. I had to leave in a hurry because of abusive behavior.
Did you come back on the 27th for your cat? Just answer my question. Did you come back on the 27th for your cat?
Not for the cat, Your Honor. For possessions that I needed, my clothing and that sort of thing that I needed that I could take with me.
Good, but you didn't take your cat.
No, I could not.
Why could not?
He had told me that I must leave the dog and the cat there.
Fine. Did you come back with the police and say, this is my cat?
Yes, I did on February 28th.
Too late. Finished. Cat's his. If somebody took my dog, I guarantee you I would be there. I would file a lawsuit, not for my property, but if somebody took my dog and wouldn't let me have my dog, it wouldn't take me from November 26th to February to say,
Your Honor,
my pet is gone.
I had been asking him for the cat over
Asking
and over
him for the
again.
cat, listen to me, asking him for the cat is not what one does when one is missing one's valued, precious pet.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
The property that you claim he has that's yours are a soy sauce bottle, CDs, tape gun, painting supplies, and brush.
Yes, a growing list of things that I needed
I'm not
to
interested in your growing list. Get over it, Miss Abel.
And later today,
I read the answer about the flying pencil, but I want him to tell me himself how the pencil got on his chair. So we're going to start from turn around and look at me.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Gail Abel says ex-boyfriend Tim Lemke owes for the return of money she invested in his home. Gail also claims Tim won't return her cat.
Go ahead.
I have email of all the times I requested amicably to get the cat back.
Starting before February?
Yes.
Show me before
Absolutely
February.
before February. All right, this starts on January 16th. We had had prior communication until
No, just a
that date.
second. So the first
Yes.
time from November is in January that you have proof of when you asked for the cat back. Is that
That's-
what you're telling me? Let me
that's the
see.
proof, yes.
Let me see.
It starts at the top of the page.
Where's the cat now, Mr. Lemke?
The cat was loaned to a friend of mine to catch a mouse.
Where is the cat now?
Oh, my house. Excuse me.
That was my question.
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear you right. Apologize. He was loaned out for a very short amount of time, and she demanded I get the cat back and I could keep the cat as long as I kept the cat at my house. So she came back and verified, and that's in an email that the cat was there, and she said, okay.
Where is that?
It's in an email.
You have it?
Yeah, right here. And when she... Excuse me.
Well, this in January seems to indicate that you wanted to come to his house to verify that the cat was back in his house.
Yes. And I asked again, may I please take my cat back? And he said no, he wouldn't even let me near it. He had the cat missing for a month, Your Honor. That night he gave me 3 different stories as to where the cat was. First it was with an old lady having surgery.
Where are your dogs now?
The one that I kept is with me. The other dogs I placed in other homes because...
And what about the cat that you had?
I had the cat for 6 years.
Where's the cat?
Oh, the second cat?
Yes.
Oh, the second cat?
Yes, the cat.
The cat we're talking about.
No, your other cat. You said you had 5 dogs and 2 cats.
Right.
Where's the other cat?
Right. The other cat went home with Mr. Lemke's nephew and stayed with his brother. I have that cat back now. I'm very thankful to say.
So you have the cat back?
I have the other cat back, yes. But not this one. But in the top of that email that you see, he said, I will give you the cat back if it's that big of a deal. And I said, yes, it is that big of a deal.
Well, evidently it wasn't such a big deal because you waited 4 months to get it back. Now, what property? Are you telling me that the property that you claim he has that's yours are a soy sauce bottle?
Oh, sorry, Your Honor.
CDs, just a second. A soy sauce bottle, that's what you say in the email. CDs, a tape gun, painting supplies, brush, hand pail rollers. This is what you say in an email.
Yes, as I discovered things were missing, Your Honor.
I'm not interested in as you discovered. Is this the email that you sent to him on January 19th? Soy sauce bottle, CDs, tape gun, painting supplies, and brush.
Yes, a growing list of things that I needed
I'm not
to
interested in your growing list. Get over it, Miss Abel. Listen to me very carefully. It didn't work out. Put your list down. It didn't work out. You paid rent for $1,500 a month for those 6 months that you lived there. Very reasonable, considering you are 2 people. You made that agreement and the fact that it didn't work out, and you did not memorialize an agreement that was more specific with regard to the $1,500 that you were paying him is your problem. You cannot visit that on courts. It didn't work out. Put a period, move on. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
All right, thank you.
Bodies are excused. You may step out.
I was naive, I was stupid, I made decisions too quickly, and I trusted someone who should not have been trusted.
The thing that was left out was when she moved in, there wasn't 5 dogs. There ended up being 12.
Extremely controlling, I was told how to breathe, how to stand, how fast I had to get pretty in the morning, and not to wear gray sweatshirts ever.
I'm not controlling.
That's who he is, and I just say the next girl needs to watch out.
She's a wonderful gal. It's too bad
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Krill versus Sheets. Step forward, please.
19-year-old leasing agent Jennifer Krill is suing her ex-roommate, 21-year-old sales associate Christopher Sheets, for damage to their apartment and for his share of their security deposit.
All right, Miss Krill, let me see if I understand what this rental situation was about. You were doing some part-time work in the leasing office of an apartment complex. In exchange for that, instead of giving you a salary, they gave you an apartment.
Correct.
And you decided that you would supplement your income by bringing in a roommate, Mr. Sheets, who
Correct.
I assume you knew from someplace,
Yes.
right?
Mutual
Correct.
friends.
And he would pay you a small amount of, like $100 a month.
Plus $50 a month for utilities.
And then he would pay the security deposit, because there was a security deposit of $300.
Yes.
And he moved in. He said, that sounds like a great idea to me. He gave them a check for the security deposit. And then, according to you, there was a misunderstanding. Mr. Sheets says that he had heard that you were bad-mouthing him, whatever. He didn't want to live there anymore. He moves out. And it is your claim that the $300 check for the security deposit bounced, that he did some damage to the apartment and some damage to your personal property.
Yes.
Mr. Sheets does not address the bounced check. And yet, he acknowledges that he caused some damage to the apartment
Correct.
and says to take it out of the security deposit.
Yeah.
So, let's cut to the chase. Where did you get this $300 check for?
At the time, my father and I had agreed that he would pay $300 for the security deposit.
And you wrote a check.
Correct.
What happened with that check?
My father and I have been disagreeing with each other lately, and then finally he said, I've had enough of it, and canceled the check.
So what you're telling me is your father stopped payment on the check.
The check had already been cashed, and I had been informed that by the leasing agent. My dad had reported it stolen or forged.
Because you...
Oh, just a second. Here we go. Now it gets more interesting, because this is the only interesting part so far of this case.
Yeah.
Your father reported the check stolen
Correct.
and forged.
Correct.
So he wanted you arrested.
Well, he didn't want that, but he wanted to get it settled.
He didn't think that she forged the check.
Right.
You forged the check.
It wasn't, I didn't forge
No,
the check at the
he
time.
said that you forged the check.
I had turned in a check in his name, correct.
How did it end up that they no longer have $300 of the security deposit?
They should still have it. When I called the apartment complex manager, I told her that I wanted my security deposit back. She
Let me see. Can
continued
I
to
see
tell.
that, please?
This
She
is the
continued to
check
tell
that
me.
has stolen and forged on it, and he's forged his father's signature. I actually talked to his dad.
Oh, I see that the bank marked it
Yes.
stolen, do not present again.
Correct. His father called the bank and canceled the check that he forged.
Correct. I'm not denying that.
So that the rental company did not cash the check.
We cashed it, and then we got it back because obviously we can't have that money
So they
anymore.
gave the money back to him?
Yes, they had to.
I
because
see.
he did not sign the check.
Okay.
Jennifer Krill says ex-roommate Christopher Sheets damaged their apartment and her personal belongings. Jennifer claims Christopher punched holes in the walls and ruined her mattress.
Mr. Sheets, you're no longer living there, so you don't have to pay the security deposit.
Correct.
Let's start with that. Don't say correct. I'm giving you a gift here, sir. But you do have to pay for the damage you did to the apartment.
Which I had explained to the leasing agent that I would take full responsibility for the
Fine.
damage that I had done.
Good. What did you do?
I had put a hole in the wall. I had also put a hole in the door in my room.
That sounds like a lot more than $300 to me.
It was $25 a hole is what I was told by her.
You have a bill for the damage that he did to
Yes,
the
I
apartment,
do.
please, Miss Krill.
And then I also have this.
Are you talking to your father now?
No, we have not spoken in over a month.
This is for the security
$120,
deposit.
Spring Lakes Apartments. That's what you owe for the holes. And then, from your... Oh, well, this, listen to me. You're going to pay your own security deposit.
Okay, I was just giving that to him.
That's fair, right? You're there, you pay the security deposit. He's going to pay for the damage you did. Now the place is damage-free. Any other damage you caused while you're there, you pay for.
Yes.
I'm a reasonable person. Okay. Now, Miss Krill, you claim that Mr. Sheets damaged some of your property.
Yes. When I got back to the apartment about 2 in the morning with my friend Katie here,
Had there been an argument?
Yes, actually, he called me on the phone, on my cell phone, and he's yelling and screaming at me.
What is he yelling?
How could you talk crap about me, da-da-da.
She was saying that you were living sort of off of her?
Correct. She was taking full advantage of her having the apartment for free and using it against me.
Using it against you by
House.
saying you're living there, you weren't paying enough.
Right.
I get a rent-free apartment, but I am working 20 hours a week for it, and he pays me $150 a month
Yes.
and pays for food, and that's not a bargain.
So you were saying he got a bargain?
Yes.
And you took offense at that?
When she uses it against me is when I took
How did she use it against you?
ruining my reputation between friends.
By
talking-
saying what, Mr.
Just
Sheets?
talking trash behind my back. It
Would you
happened several
explain-
occasions.
All right, now you're not living together anymore. Come on, fill me in. It's late. I have things to do.
Then he called me yelling on my phone. I went back to my apartment with Katie, only to find him and his friends throwing things down the stairs. There's mattresses, bed frames, boxes everywhere in the road. One of the neighbors in my apartment
His
building.
stuff?
Yes, his stuff. They called the cops because, it was a whole bunch of commotion. And I tried to go confront Chris. I'm like, what's going on? What's happening? He doesn't even want to talk to me. He's like, I'm moving out. That's it. Da-da-da. I'm like, okay. Can't stop him.
Can you tell me, please, what property you allege that he damaged that belongs to you? He already has to pay $120.
He urinated on my mattress, which was about $400.
Well, how do you know it was him?
I have pictures.
That's not my question. How did you know it was him?
Well, he was moving out all the stuff with two of his friends, so, he had the problem with me.
Let me see.
These are all the pictures.
So what you're claiming is it was either Mr. Sheets or one of his friends?
Yes.
He took all the food in the refrigerator?
Yes,
everything. Get over it. What else? I got the mattress and the
security
holes.
deposit, the food, but that wasn't
All
the
right.
charge. That's the main things.
Let's talk about the mattress, Mr. Sheets.
I did not do that, Your Honor. I did not see anybody do that. I was out going to get a truck when I came back.
Were things being thrown out of the apartment? Your things?
My items, yes.
Your items.
They were getting it out as fast as possible.
What time of the day or night was that happening,
It
Mr.
was
Sheets?
about 2:15 in the morning, I do
Well,
believe.
sir, so what you're telling me is at 2:15 in the morning in this apartment complex, you're throwing things down the stairs. There are other people that live there, is that right?
Correct.
That's not very mature, Mr. Sheets.
They were moving the things out while I was going to get a vehicle to take all the things to my new...
Well, you selected people who are not very mature to
I
do the
agree.
job, right?
Yes.
And if you select people that aren't very mature to move you out and they are acting in an immature, rowdy fashion, whose responsibility is that?
Mine.
Right on. And while you were out getting a truck to take the stuff out of there that they were throwing down the stairs, you know what else they were doing? They were peeing on her mattress.
See, we do not know that for sure.
No, listen to me, sir. You know why I know that for sure? Because I don't think she peed on her own mattress. Listen to me very carefully, sir. When you invite people to do a job and you don't supervise them and you do it in an irresponsible manner at 2 o'clock in the morning, you have to assume the responsibility for everything bad that happens. How much was the mattress?
About $400. And
What do you
my
mean
clothes-
about $400?
My father bought it for me about 2
Yeah,
years
will
ago.
you
this
find
spring.
another one for $200? Anything else, Miss Krill?
Yes, ma'am. He also urinated on about $100 worth of my clothes that were laying below my bed.
Where are they?
They're not with me anymore. I threw them away.
$320. Get over it. That's all. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
I'm just disappointed in him because he was my good friend and he was immature enough to do that to me, and it really hurt my feelings.
When she started ruining my reputation is when I had to get involved with it.
I'm just happy now that it actually happened because now I know what kind of person he is.
Well, I thought we were really good friends at the time. I just don't think we're made out to be roommates. Yep.
Is the prize. He is also the defendant. This is his wife?
Yes.
He separates from his wife in August. You take up with him almost immediately.
Yes.
Did you know he was separated at the time?
Yes.
So you knew he was married?
Yes.
How much after he left his wife did he hook up with you?
In October.
No, you met him before October. You moved in according to your complaint in
He
October.
lived next door to my parents.
With his wife or after he separated?
Both.
So as soon as the wife moved out, you started dating.
Yeah.
Big mistake. Did your father tell you it was a big mistake?
Yes.
Right?
Right.
How much of a big mistake did you tell her it was?
I told her it was a big one. I told her it wouldn't have been worth it.
So she moves in with him in October. Now, at that time, did you rented your own apartment?
I had my own place still.
And when did you become pregnant?
November.
Birth control sound familiar to you?
Yeah.
What did you say to her when you found out not only was she living with him, but she was pregnant?
They always tell me when I'm on the road, so I'll be calmed down when I get home.
And what kind of work do you do, Mr. Dennis?
Truck driver.
Well, then it seems that Mr. Eby decides to go back to his wife. Your lawsuit for two things. For a couple of months' rent that is still owed after he moved out, and for the value of car that you purchased for him, Mr. Dennis. You purchased an old car, $500?
Yeah.
Now, Mr. Eby says that the car was a gift and that you paid the bills while you were living there, but after you moved out, you changed the locks and you're not responsible for anything else.
Yep.
Mr. Dennis, I want you to tell me about the car.
She worked first shift. He worked second shift. She was getting off at...
Where?
She worked at a daycare, and he worked at a place called Cook's Foods. She was getting home about 4:30. He had to be to work by 4:45, which he was always being late. So I told him, I didn't tell him nothing really. I went out, I went to a car lot and asked them if they had a car for about $500. So on the way over to pick up the car, I asked him if he could get insurance on the car. And he said no. So I paid the $500, put the car in his name in case he had an accident. I didn't want to be liable for it. And then
so far, smart.
And then when they got their income tax money, I was supposed to get my $500 back. And that never happened.
What do you mean when they? You mean the two of them?
Well, he filed, but he put her kids on his income tax so he could get more money.
How many other children do
I
you
have
have?
two.
You have enough children.
That's what I told her. She had enough at one.
Mr. Dennis, we could have been twins. Who takes care of these three children?
I do. Well, I'm still carrying one. I take care of the other two.
Where are their fathers?
My daughter's dad is deceased, and my son's dad lives across town.
And you're still living in this house?
Yes.
Emily, you have to find another hobby. Making children is not a hobby.
I know.
Let's get to the car part.
I offered to pay him back $500 a couple weeks later at Red Lobster on the 12th of April. And he declined my money. I had the money for him. He said no.
What did he say?
He said, no, I don't want your money. I want the car. I have the title right here. And these are the things they forged.
You have the car, right?
Yep.
So try yes. It sounds
Yes.
nicer. You know, how many children do you have?
I have one.
You have one now.
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
Did he offer you $500?
No, he said he was willing to pay me $500 for it, but he didn't have it then.
Oh, but you said you had it.
I did have it.
Well, that's what he wants. He wants the $500. So you have no problem with that.
No, I don't have a problem with that.
Now let's talk about the rent. Ms. Dennis, when did Mr. Eby move out?
April 9th, he walked out.
Why?
He told me he's taken his daughter to his aunt's house and never returned.
Did you change the locks?
No.
What month's rent are you claiming that he owes you?
Well, I paid April's myself, and I've paid May's.
But he wasn't there in May.
Well, yeah,
Why didn't he pay any of April's rent?
because I got my paycheck from work, and I paid it because he was in between jobs, and he didn't have a paycheck at the time to pay it.
Did you move out on April? Why are you laughing?
Because I never technically moved out of there. I came home. Locks were changed.
When?
On the 14th of April.
Okay, so how much was your half of the rent?
I paid all the rent.
In April?
Yes. All she gets for a check is from welfare.
Who paid April's rent? Do you have a rent receipt for April's rent?
Nope. She would have it. Because I don't have nothing because she wouldn't allow me back in the house.
I see the receipt. Did you give her cash to pay the rent?
Yep.
Let's try that again.
Yes.
Mr. Eby, these two women may find you irresistible. I guarantee you I do not.
Okay.
The only month that I'm interested in is April. The only month that you show me on a receipt for rent for April, every other receipt is nice and clear. The month, the date is nice and clear. The only date that there's something written over is April. I mean, didn't you think that I'd notice that?
I picked him up.
What happened here?
I don't know. I didn't look at him.
Well, I don't know either. You get money from social services?
No.
Other than your job, how do you support yourself?
My son's dad pays child support.
You get Social Security for your son, for your child whose father is dead?
No, I don't.
Why not?
Because he didn't work.
Another winner. You help her?
More than we should, but yeah.
What is she going to do after her lease is up?
She's moving into our house.
Who else lives in your house, Mr. Dennis?
All of them.
You have
That's
three
why
children?
I drive a truck.
You have 3 children? 3
Yes.
children?
Mhm.
She the only one with children?
No,
How many of the others have children?
all of them.
Mr. Dennis, you missed the class on teaching your children birth control.
No, they missed the class on listening.
They missed the class on listening. All right, now, Mr. Eby, you have a counterclaim, if
Well,
my
I'd
memory
like to
is
go back
correct.
for a second.
What?
Things they had forged.
You mean forged with regard to the car?
Yeah.
Listen to me very carefully. Put that down, sir. Put the papers down. Other than the fact that you told me that you agreed to pay him back, and you said to him, here's $500. I'm going to pay you back for the car, I would have ruled in your favor because there was no loan agreement. But you agreed to pay him back. So you're going to pay him back, and I don't care if they forged the Declaration of Independence. You're going to pay him back for the car.
I offered him, he said no.
Now he says yes. Now you're going to pay him back for the car, not for the rent. She lived there. She's going to take care of the rent, and she has taken care of the rent. Now, let's get to your counterclaim.
My counterclaim is for my living room set that she still has, my entertainment stand, TV, VCR, movies, Xbox, etc., washer and dryer.
Now, did he purchase all of those things?
No, he didn't.
Who purchased them?
I did.
All of them?
Yes.
Let me see the receipts.
I don't have receipts. I didn't think I was going to get into a situation like
Well,
this.
just a second. When you moved into the house, he was already living there. So I want you to be very careful with what you tell me. Your father is a backup, and your father and I are almost soulmates here. Do you understand, Miss Dennis? You moved into his house, and of course, according to you, his wife left. He was still living there, and a couple of weeks later, you move in with your 2 children. Did he have furniture in his place when you moved in?
He gave it all to his wife.
Everything?
Yes, I even had to provide a bed for his daughter.
Mr. Dennis, did Aaron over here have any furniture?
Yes, he did. He did, but he
Stop doing that.
he threw tantrums once in a while, and he'd start throwing his furniture out of the house, and then by the garbage, and then they'd pick it up and haul it off. He did that a lot.
What did your daughter move in with?
Well, we carried a big screen TV in there, sofa love seat, her bedroom set, her daughter's bedroom set, and her son's bedroom set. That's what we
What
moved.
about a washer dryer?
It was already in there.
Is that yours? You want it back? Done. What else do you say that's there, sir?
TV, VCR, movies, Xbox, couch.
Well, just a second. How many TVs were in the house?
1.
That's hers.
Nope, hers got repoed.
First of all, we have 4 TVs in our home.
Oh, you do? Well, one of them must belong to him.
And he can have it. It is downstairs.
Oh, fine.
That's not the TV.
Listen to me. You're lucky I'm listening to this at all. Because you two have to find another hobby. You have enough children for a while. Caused enough damage.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
I told her that I didn't understand why she would do something like she had done. He had done everything to help her. It really hurt.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Emily Dennis and her father, Rodney Dennis, are suing the father of Emily's unborn child, Aaron Eby, for rent, bills, and the value of a car. Aaron is countersuing for the return of his furniture.
Washer, dryer, and TV. He's going to pick it up 5 days from today.
Okay.
Do you speak to him?
No.
Do you?
No, but I can. I mean, it won't bother me.
Fine. Then why don't you?
He knows my number.
Why don't you make arrangements to go and get it?
All right.
So, I read your answer, Mr. Eby, and according to you, you're not even sure that this baby that Miss Dennis is having is yours. I have a feeling it is. But I'm sure you're going to do a paternity test.
Yes.
Which is a very good idea. And that means that the two of you are going to be joined in some way for the next couple of decades. So I suggest you start to act responsibly and reasonably towards each other. And he has a very calming effect. at least he did on me, had a very calming effect. So I suggest you keep him as a friend. Do you understand?
Yes.
Do the right thing with him. He's tried to do the right thing with you. Got it?
Yes.
You took him back?
Yeah, I did.
No, I didn't. Yeah, I did is fine.
Yes, I
Good.
did.
Shh, say nothing. Sit down. You taking him back is your problem, not mine. Very good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $500 on the counterclaim. You'll have the property as I outlined it in 5 days, and Mr. Dennis will take care of seeing to it that it's picked up. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
They went out to my car, stole the bill of sale, forged my name on it,
He moved in 2 weeks after I left. He was no good.
trying to get me a ticket because the cops were going to write me a ticket for possession of a stolen vehicle.
He left me for his drug addict wife. All the furniture was ours. I'm carrying his child.
Yeah, I'd like to have him be part of it, but
Each other, but we're involved in an incident that can be described as a road rage incident. It is your claim that Mr. Azure caused this accident, which damaged your car. He says it was you who caused the accident. He said that you hit him in the rear. He is counterclaiming because he alleges that because of your conduct, he was forced to drop out of school, to have his education delayed, and he has a counterclaim. When did this incident happen, Miss Pincher?
February 3rd, 2005.
What time of the day or evening?
Approximately 10:30 in the morning.
And where were you going?
I was on my way to work.
Where do you work?
Sacred Heart Medical Building.
What kind of a car were you driving?
Honda Civic, 97.
What kind of car were you driving?
I was driving a 87 Toyota Corolla.
Where were you going?
I was going home. I was leaving school.
You had been in school that morning?
Yeah, I just got out at 10:20, and I was on my way home.
Okay, so Ms. Pinchuk, you tell me your version of what happened, please.
I was driving westbound on Mission.
Show me on your diagram, please.
This is
Which
me
color
here.
are you?
I'm B.
You're blue.
Yes. As I'm driving here, there's a bus that's moving. He pulls out from behind the bus and cuts me off right here. So I went into this turn lane to avoid the accident. I'm attempting to get back over, but he's not letting me. So at this point, after I honked my horn, he then let me in, which as I came here, and he was a bit further down here, this is where we hit because he was driving erratically and he slammed on his brakes. And to avoid hitting him again, I turned this way. And that's how the damage occurred on that side of the car.
Okay, so what you're saying is he cut you off.
Yes.
You had to get back into a driving lane.
Yes.
Ultimately, he let you back in the driving lane, but then slammed on his brakes, causing you to swerve.
Yes.
And that's how the back of his car and the front of your car were damaged.
Correct.
Okay, fine. I will hear you.
Okay, it started with the bus stop. There was actually another car in front of me. The first car proceeded to go around the bus, made it around. I looked, there was nobody behind me. I proceeded into this lane. I was all the way up here, and all of a sudden I heard a series of honking. She was in a hurry to get somewhere, and I just wasn't going fast enough for her. I look into my rearview mirror. She's on the cell phone, driving, honking her horn, and then she proceeds to go on my driver's side to pass me. She must have thought that was another lane because it widens out there for about 50 feet. And then it closes out real quick and it goes right back into the two lanes. And she proceeded to pass me, Your Honor. She was all the way up as far as my back door on my driver's side. And as soon as I seen that, I started to slow down to let her proceed so she could proceed to pass. But she couldn't do it because there's oncoming traffic coming. So then she stopped to try to swing back around to get back behind me. And I feel that it was all her fault. She was on the cell phone. If she wasn't talking on that cell phone, maybe she could have used that other hand to flip the blinker and switch into the lane that was completely open.
Okay. Now, you had some damage to your car?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of damage did you have to your car?
Do you want to see pictures? Mm-hmm. I have two different estimates. The pictures are on the back of each page of the estimate.
What happened when the police arrived?
One officer talked to me, and I told him the story, and basically he wrote out the report, and that was it. He said that he attempted to contact my witness.
Do you have a police report?
Yes, I do.
Can I see it, please? You were cited for an improper lane usage.
I didn't commit it. It was found non-committed.
Did you have a hearing with regard to that?
Yes, with extenuating circumstances. My witness was there to attend as well.
What is your name, sir?
Sonny Shaver.
Stand up, please. Do you know the plaintiff?
I never met her till that day.
You were driving on the 3rd of February?
I was the oncoming traffic, Your Honor.
Show me where your car was.
I was here. This island stops and, like he said, becomes 2 double yellow lines that narrow down back to a 4-lane street. When I saw him, she was behind him. He went about halfway into this lane with half his car. Then all of a sudden he came back and she dived to the left to avoid him, and I thought, going to get hit head on here. She slammed on the brakes then and cut it to the left. He cut it to the left across the double yellow line and stopped, and she hit him. So I drove around the block and said, I'll be a witness for you.
And you gave her your name?
Gave her my business card.
And you did come down with her to testify on her behalf?
Yes, ma'am.
That was very nice of you.
Well, I saw she rear-ended him, and that's almost always automatically her fault, and I felt it wasn't, so.
And you and Miss Pinchuk didn't know each other?
No, ma'am.
That's totally false. I had no reason to turn. I was a mile down my road. She was reckless driving. I was trying to avoid her.
Well, I'm looking at you, Mr. Azure, because Mr. Shaver doesn't know the plaintiff, right?
I can't tell you.
And when you stopped, did you see Mr. Shaver there that day?
No, he was not there.
Did you see him?
He was yelling at me, some foul things.
No.
Really?
Yes, ma'am.
Nope. He told me, you can't frickin' stop in the middle of the road. And
So, just a second, Mr. Azure. Mr. Azure. Shh. Mr. Azure, you just said you didn't see him there that day.
Well,
how could you tell me that you didn't see him there that day, and then 2 seconds later tell me what he was yelling at you?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I do not believe that it was him. There was a guy there.
Listen to me. That was him. He
Was
didn't
it?
Yeah, it was him.
No, there was a guy that didn't want to wait
Listen
for
to
the
me.
police officers.
Listen to me. It was him.
And later today,
He didn't steal the car keys. He didn't grab them out of her pocket. She was drunk. He was drunk. They're just lucky they're not dead.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Bobby Pinchuk says fellow motorist Charles Azure owes for an accident caused by his reckless driving. Charles claims the accident was Bobby's fault.
All right. Now let's get to your counterclaim, Mr. Azure. I'll hear you.
There was a blonde-haired gentleman. I do not believe that it was him. There was a guy there.
Listen to me. That was him. He
Was
didn't
it?
say, yeah, it was him.
No, there was a guy that
Listen-
didn't want to wait
listen
for
to
the
me.
police officers.
Listen to me.
And he took off.
Listen to me. It was him. Let's just get to
I
your
never talked to
counterclaim,
him.
sir.
Okay. After this accident, I just had surgery on my knee, and I'm in criminal justice at the Spokane Community College. I have no reason to jeopardize my career. My knee went into the dashboard, and it swelled up my knee. I got the doctor report, and I took it to my instructors at school, and they put me on hold. They ended up giving me a Z grade.
What does that have to do with this accident?
Because my knee swollen, because I got injured in there, and I couldn't pursue my criminal justice. They put me on hold. They said I had to get doctors. I can't get released from the doctors. I've had 4 surgeries on my knee, Your Honor, and...
Did you have any surgeries on your knee after this incident, sir?
No, I had it August 29th, 04.
The last one was
The
in
last one was
August. The last one was in
10/29/04.
August. Okay. Well,
Just
maybe
like
you're in
4
the-
months prior to this
Maybe
accident.
you're in the wrong, you're pursuing the wrong career, sir.
I'm not going as a police officer. We're opening a bail bonds company, and we're going to pursue that.
You're going to be a bail bondsman.
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. All right, Mr. Azure. Are you going back to school for
They
criminal
let me
justice?
back in. I just had my appointment with the dean on May 5th, and they said I can go back in
I'm very
in
glad.
September.
Okay. Who is this person?
This is my wife, Joni.
What does she have to do with this case?
She's the one that took me to the hospital, saw my knee, how it swelled. I had to be in a neck brace. I had to wear my splint again. I had to use crutches.
Just my own information, sir. Did you speak to an attorney about these injuries?
Yes, I did.
And did the attorney take your case against
No,
Ms.
he didn't.
Pinchuk?
Because he said I had a pre-existing knee injury.
That plus a couple of other things, Mr. Azure. One of the things that would be death to your case is this gentleman right over here. Because he's known as an independent witness. He is absolutely correct when he says that when someone rear-ends someone else in their car, unless there are really extenuating circumstances, it's always your fault. Those are the facts. You understand that, Mr. Azure?
Yes, her insurance...
Unless, Mr. Azure, you have an independent witness who says that you were driving recklessly. That's what he says. And he's got no axe to grind. He took a couple of days off from work. He actually came back to a scene of an accident where most people would just keep going.
I never seen him, Your Honor.
Well, maybe you just heard him. And there is no question in my... Listen to me, I'm speaking.
Okay.
There's no question in my mind that he was there. There's no question in my mind that he chose to come back to the scene of the accident because he was concerned that Miss Pinchuk would be blamed for the accident because it was a rear-end hit. He took the time after she contacted him to go down and testify before the administrative law judge at the hearing regarding the ticket. The ticket was dismissed, as is your counterclaim, sir. Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of damage to the car, $1,400. Thank you very much. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She found that I was at fault, but I just don't feel that I was.
It was his fault. He knows it was his fault, and that's what he gets for trying to lie.
She was totally out of control, calling me every name in the book.
At the point where he realized that I was cussing him out and I was honking my horn, I need to get back over, that's when he got mad.
On her cell phone, driving right behind me, she was so close to my bumper, I could see the whites of her eyes.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Spandy versus Gretha, step forward, please.
Computer operator Tim Spandy is suing his daughter's former friend, 18-year-old event coordinator Tom Grether, for wrecking his wife's car. Tom says he was driving because Tim's daughter was drunk.
Mr. Spandy, this your daughter?
Yes, it is.
Your daughter was driving your car?
No, she wasn't.
Whose car was she using?
It was my wife's car.
So your daughter was driving your wife's car with your permission. She goes to a party or some sort of gathering, and this young man was there. She got too drunk to drive home. She asked him to drive home. He was also drunk. He totaled the car. You want him to pay for the car.
Yes, that's correct, ma'am.
And Mr. Grether says, well, he has certain responsibility. He doesn't have total responsibility. Your daughter has partial responsibility. Okay. When was this party?
February 13th.
At a house?
Yeah.
Did you know Mr. Grether before the party?
Yes, I did.
Okay. How much did you drink?
I think I had like 4 cups of beer.
Why did you drink if you were driving?
I was planning on staying over.
So why didn't you stay over?
Because there's some drama about missing pieces, and then I'll...
Missing pieces? What?
Bongs.
What is that?
Stuff you smoke marijuana out of.
There was drama about some drugs.
Yeah.
What kind of drama was there about drugs?
One kid accused one of Tom's friends of stealing piece.
So there was some drama, so you wanted to go home?
Well, because all of Tom's friends were leaving, and Tom invited us to the party. We didn't know the people whose house it was at, so we all decided to leave and go back to Tom's.
And you were too drunk to drive?
Yeah.
So you really didn't have good judgment?
Yeah.
What about Tom?
Well, my friends said they gave him a drunk test and see if he could walk a line and if he had slurred speech, and he said he stopped drinking 2 hours before that.
So you had your friends, your drunken friends, give him an alcohol sobriety test. Is that what you're telling me, Miss Spandy?
Yes.
And your slightly inebriated friends told you that he was sufficiently sober to drive your mother's car?
Yeah.
Tell me how you totaled her mother's car.
We were driving down a dirt and gravel road, and the car had spun out, and we had crashed into a tree.
All right, now we'll hear you.
Yeah. Before we started driving, he decided to whip a donut in a cul-de-sac, which was a dirt road. And I'm like, Tom, you need to stop. And he was like, okay, I used to drive a Ford Contour, I have total control. And so then he stops, and then he was like, hey, look at this. And I saw his hand reaching for the emergency brake, but I don't really know if he pulled it or whatever. It just happened too fast. We lost control, and then we ran into a tree.
I was only kidding. I actually never got grasped with the emergency brake. 3 other vehicles ahead of me had spun out at the exact same spot that I had spoke with afterwards. They were all driving
What I don't
SUVs.
understand, Mr. Spandy, is why you think your daughter is not at least partially responsible for what happened that night.
Well, for one thing, the defendant here, he was driving with a suspended license. He knew he was not supposed to be behind the driver's wheel at all.
He was Your Honor. Put your hand down. They were all drinking and doing marijuana.
I understand that.
Mr. Spandy, your daughter took her mother's car and acted irresponsibly with it. She drank. She was probably smoking marijuana. She gave the car to somebody who was given a field sobriety test by a bunch of other teenage alcoholics. And you think she bears no responsibility?
Well, he should have known right from wrong. I mean...
He was wrong. There's no question he was wrong. You don't take your mother's car and then drink.
I agree.
And you don't take your mother's car and then drink and do bongs or whatever they are. What you do is, if you think that you're going to drink, you say, Dad, would you drive me to the party and pick me up? Or if you don't intend to drink and then you go to the party and you drink, you say, give me the phone, I'm going to call my father to come pick me up. She could have done that too, right?
Yes, and that's what she's been instructed to do.
But you mean before this incident, you told her, if you drink, call us, we'll come pick you up, right? So she did the wrong thing.
Yes.
That's all I'm asking you, Mr. Spandy. I'm not saying that Mr. Grether here is going to get off scot-free. But what I'm telling you is your daughter bears some responsibility for what happened that night.
I agree. I mean, she was in the wrong, but for somebody of his age, a little bit older, selling alcohol and all that other stuff
Just a
going
second.
on that...
How old is your daughter?
17.
And how old are you?
I'll be 19 in a few weeks.
Listen, she's 17, he's 18. You know how much longer it takes a boy to mature than it takes a girl to mature?
Yes.
I just want you to take a look at him. Take a look at him. You'll understand what I'm talking about.
Yes, I understand completely.
Do you understand what I'm talking about?
Oh, yes.
All right. So don't tell me that he's so much older and is selling liquor. She's 17 years old. She shouldn't be drinking 5 beers, right?
I understand that.
Bad judgment.
Yes, very.
And if you start...
May I please add on the...
Don't say anything.
Sorry.
All right. Start with this premise, Mr. Spandy. But for the fact that your daughter did the wrong thing, you would not be standing here today.
Correct.
She did the wrong thing 3 times. She took the car, she drank.
Yes.
Instead of calling you to come pick her up, she gave the car keys to him. But for her actions, he, who's not any older than she is, would not have control of the car. He didn't steal the car keys. He didn't grab them out of her pocket. She was drunk, he was drunk. They're just lucky they're not dead.
Yes.
So the car was totaled.
Yes.
Did you have insurance?
I only had liability, no collision, so the insurance company would not pay for it.
When did you purchase the car?
I purchased it 8/25/04.
And how much did you pay for it?
We paid a little over $4,300. Other charges incurred that night was towing fee and pound lot, and that was over $200.
So you paid $43 plus another $2.
Yes.
Half $4,500 is $2,250. $2,250 is his responsibility. The other $2,250 is your daughter's responsibility. I suggest that you see to it that she takes care of it.
Oh, she's already taken care of the other car we have purchased.
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,250. That's all.
Parties are excused and they step out.
I take some of the responsibility. I mean, I made a wrong decision. I should not have been driving.
I fully agree with her that they both were at fault.
I'm happy with it. At least I guess we got some money out of it to help pay.
She chose to drive to a party knowing that there was liquor.
Everything happened just so quickly.
The police were involved.
I was just hysterical. I couldn't control myself.
I made a phone call to her father, apologized for what had happened, and offered to make up some type of payment plan. He refused the payment plan and told me that he wanted it all in one sum.
You know, making up payment plans would not go over well because you skip a payment here, skip a payment there, so I just thought one lump sum would be better.
I'm just glad that things turned out this way and that Judge Judy saw my side of it.
Dog bit her 9-year-old son, Aaron. Edward says Aaron's father was there and didn't think his son needed medical attention.
Order, all rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. Your Honor, it's case number 204 on the calendar in the matter of Benson versus Borquez. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, ma'am, gentlemen.
All right, let me see if I can do a road map on this case. Mrs. Benson.
Yes.
This is your son.
Yes.
He was bitten by the defendant's dog.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
In the defendant's house, while he was enjoying a period of visitation with his father.
Yes, correct.
And his father at that time was seeing or engaged to or the boyfriend of the defendant's daughter. Is that you?
Yes.
Who are you?
I'm a friend of hers, of Teresa.
Okay, you're not the father.
No.
He's not here.
No.
He was visiting you, is that right?
Yes.
Was your daughter at home?
Yes, he was.
What kind of a dog do you have?
A medium-sized shepherd.
Were you present when the dog bit him?
No, I wasn't. I was outside the house.
Were you present when the
Yes.
dog bit him? So why don't you step up here? Before I get to you, I'm going to speak to this young man because I know you were there when you got bitten by the dog.
Yes,
right?
ma'am.
Tell me your name.
Aaron Benson.
So tell me what happened when you got to their home.
We got out and we started walking. He said something to the man, and then he opened the screen door.
Means something like hello.
Yeah, something kind of like that, and something else like that. And he opened the screen door, and I stepped in. My foot was about halfway in. The dog jumped up, bit me, and
where did the dog bite you?
In my arm, right here.
Over there?
Yes.
Now, when the dog bit you on the arm, did it go through your skin? Was it bleeding?
Yes, ma'am.
And what did your dad do when he saw it?
He was acting like, wasn't quite of a big deal.
Did somebody wash it off for you?
Yes,
Who
Maria did, and she put Neosporin on it, which is
your name
that
is
man.
Maria.
Maria.
The lady hanging. I'm sorry.
She's a nice lady.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's a nice lady.
Good. So that your dad
was acting like nothing had happened.
Like a jerk.
Kind of.
Like a jerk.
Well, I wouldn't describe my father as a jerk.
Yeah, but he didn't rush and take care of you.
No.
Maria did that. The gals took care of you.
No, but she said that he just got his rabies shots or something like that. And then
Just
she
a
took me
second.
to-
Slowly, slowly,
Oh,
slowly,
I'm
slowly,
sorry.
slowly.
I'm sorry.
Maria said.
Yes, ma'am.
Maria said after she washed it off, and Maria put the Neosporin on it.
Yes. Yes.
And she covered it with a bandage.
I believe so. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And Maria asked your father about whether you've gotten shots.
The dog, I guess, just got the rabies shots. I guess that's what happened.
Oh, so Maria told your dad
Yes,
that
ma'am.
the dog just got rabies shots?
Yes. I guess, because it's been a long time.
So you're really not sure?
Yes.
Did you discuss rabies shots with
Not
his
in front
father?
of him. And yes, I did talk to his father. I said there was no problem with the dog. She had already had her shots, and he said there's no problem.
Okay. Now, did your arm hurt that day?
Yes, it did. My mom took me to the hospital.
Don't tell me what your mom did. I'm
sorry.
not getting to your mom yet. This happened as soon as you walked into the house, Aaron, right?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Now, was that in the morning?
It was late afternoon, probably around 6:30, something around there.
Did you spend the evening there, Aaron?
It was probably around like 7 or something when we left.
So you went back to your mom's?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, when you got to your mom's,
Yes.
what did you say to her?
I can't remember.
Do you remember?
Oh, yes.
So let me hear.
Okay. My ex-husband walked in, and he was a little on the nervous side. Proceeded to tell me he had some good news, and he had some bad news.
So first he's going to give you the good news.
Right. Good news is Aaron is fine. Bad news is he was bitten by a dog. I said, did you take him to emergency? Did he get seen? No. We washed it out, and washed it out with soap and water and put Neosporin on it. And I was rather surprised to hear that he had not taken him to get medical attention. I informed him at that time, because I have a medical background, that I would take him to emergency, that he needed to be seen, especially because they were bleeding, they were swollen, and they were discolored. And he, at that point, then told me that, he had done his part, he was done, he was not going to have anything further to do with it. The following day, when I called the defendant to ask about proof of rabies shots, I got argument, tried calling 4 or 5 different times and was hung up on, and then I started getting harassing phone calls from Maria, the defendant's daughter, telling me not to ever call, not to call her father, not to bother them.
Okay. What was the problem about giving her proof of the rabies shots?
She never asked me for proof. She asked Daniel, her ex-husband. Daniel called me and asked me to get copies to him. I made copies of them. I gave them to Daniel. And we did not get any kind of her asking for anything for a week or two after this. So there were periods of time, and actually Teresa would call and harass my dad.
Just a second. Did she at any time call and ask you for proof of the rabies shots?
No.
Did she ask you, sir? No. Did you discuss it with your husband?
I discussed it with all three of the people.
All right, let me
who were
see when
involved.
you took him to the
This is
emergency room, because Ms. Benson, I assume that since you're a concerned mother and if he's bitten by a dog and it's a dog that you're not familiar with, they would have told you immediately that you would have had to have started rabies shots unless you satisfied yourself that he was in fact, that the dog was in fact inoculated against rabies. So there had to come a time when you knew that the dog was inoculated against rabies. When?
I never found out to this day. I still have never been given
Well, then
any
you took
paperwork.
quite a chance, Miss Benson. You took quite a risk as a parent. If you didn't find out, and you're telling me that you didn't find out until this day that this dog that bit your son had not been vaccinated against rabies, that was pretty negligent on your part.
What I did was I went to the animal shelter, and they said that the dog had to be put under quarantine for 15 days, but that they had to do that. So I talked to the hospital about it. The hospital said that rabies of a child anybody getting rabies from another animal was, they gave me the odds. I don't remember exactly what they told me.
So you took the risk?
Well, I did everything I could, Your Honor.
You didn't.
I feel that I did.
You didn't.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
The dog bit him. And you think you have no responsibility for that?
Even if they walk in the house without knocking?
Yes, even if they walk in the house without knocking.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Teresa Benson says Edward Borquez's dog bit her son Aaron. Edward and witness Maria Gomez claim the bite wasn't bad enough to take him to the hospital.
Okay, so despite the fact that you took the child to the hospital, which was a very smart thing to do, what they diagnosed it as was a bite to the left forearm. Keep it clean and dry. And
there was medication
looks like
prescribed.
complete Keflex,
Yes.
which is probably very similar to Neosporin.
Right.
So it cost you $138 for the medical treatment.
Well, now it's up to $149.03 because of the interest.
Okay, so $149.03.
Right, and then I put out $9 for the Keflex out of my pocket.
Okay.
And then when I tried to approach the defendant to confront him and show him I gave him a copy of the bill, and I said, you know, listen, you don't have to, I just want to get this bill paid. And he proceeded to tell me that he had sought help from an attorney and that they would be contacting me. I waited.
And nobody ever called you?
Nobody ever called me.
So you tried to make restitution. Sir, sir.
Yes, I'm sorry.
This was your dog.
My dog, yes.
And the dog bit him.
No.
He bit the dog.
I'm sorry, yes, okay, yes.
The dog bit him. And you think you have no responsibility for that?
Ma'am, it's not that we don't think we had responsibility. Daniel told us that she's on welfare and there was no reason or any explanation why she would be getting a bill, you know, or be paying for any kind of medication because they would have covered it, and he told us that all she does is try and scam for money.
Let us assume that they do receive public assistance and they're covered by the state for insurance. She still has a right, if she wishes, to sue for a greater amount, greater than the $158 for pain and suffering for on the child's behalf, because so far I've heard nothing that would suggest that he did anything to this dog. The dog reacted to him, maybe was startled, and jumped up and bit him. You're responsible for that.
Even if they walk in the house without knocking?
Yes, even if they walk in the house without knocking. These were not strangers. He wasn't coming in to burglarize your house. He was coming in to visit you. And your father was clearly expecting him because he saw him outside and he said hi. Or he spoke to Daniel, which was his father, and clearly he was expected. So he walked into the front door.
Well, we did, you know, Daniel said that it was fine.
Well,
Don't
Daniel
worry
said
about
that it was fine. You did a very, very foolish thing. Now, let me see your arm, please. Step up here, Aaron.
What'd you say?
Step up here. Oh, right here. This is where it was?
Yes.
Right
yes, ma'am.
there?
And then on the other side, it's little.
Where?
It's right
Because
here.
their teeth are smaller on the bottom. The big ones are over here, right?
Yes, ma'am. It's right here.
I know. I'm just looking at the top one again. You scared of dogs now, Erin?
Yes,
Huh?
I'm terrified.
Yeah, big ones and little ones together?
Pretty much, yes.
Okay. Go back and stay with your mom.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have a dog at home?
No, ma'am.
You have any other animals at home?
No, ma'am.
Did you ever?
I don't believe so, but I do want a cat.
What do you mean you don't believe so?
I
Do
don't
you
believe that
remember?
we have. No, we haven't had any animals.
No. Animals are really nice.
Oh, yes, we had
Most-
a fish, actually.
Most of the time, they're really nice. Okay. Have you seen his arm? You know, he does have a scar on his arm. Have you seen it?
No.
Erin, go show
particular.
Maria the scar and her father the scar that's on your arm.
Right there. And right there.
You know, I mean, it's not life-threatening, but it's
No,
clearly...
my son was bit by a Rottweiler on the back of his leg not too long ago. Took him to urgent care. They gave him a tetanus shot for, and that was it. And this one was a bad bite. So it's not like I'm not familiar with, if I thought it was necessary, I would have taken him myself to the urgent care if I thought that he needed urgent care.
You cannot make a judgment for somebody else's child. When you have somebody else's child, you're supposed to be twice as careful as you are for your own. In the case that you just described to me, where your son was bit by a larger dog on the back of the leg, you told me that you took him immediately to the hospital and got him a shot. This child, you washed it off, put on a little Neosporin and a Band-Aid, and sent him on his way. So what I'm telling you is, not smart.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
What happened after she pulled your hair?
Put me in a headlock and started hitting me in the left side of my face. And I was trying to tell my son it's okay, because he was hysterical. And I'm trying to bend over, trying to help my son. And as I'm trying to help him, she continues to attack me.
closed captioning, sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. Teresa Benson is suing Edward Borquez because his dog bit her 9-year-old son, Aaron.
Okay, this is your dog, you're responsible. He's got some scarring on his arm. I don't think that the matter is worth Mrs. Benson, nor were you even seeking at the time $5,000. What you were seeking from the defendant was payment of these medical bills.
Exactly.
Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
But certainly Aaron is a human being. He has even though he's a little human being, and he has the right to be compensated for being frightened. He has the right to be compensated for having a scar that's going to last for a period of time. He has right to be compensated for whatever pain that he had as a result of being bitten by the dog. So I think that you have to be compensated for your outlay of money, which was $158. And Aaron, you plan on going to college?
Yes, ma'am.
You plan on telling the truth your whole life, Aaron?
Yes,
About
ma'am.
everything you remember?
I don't get the question.
You plan on telling the truth about everything?
Yes, ma'am.
Sure you do.
And being an honest person.
So, we're going to give you $1,000 to start your college fund. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
That's very hard to put a price on fear of dogs for your life, a price on that. But your mother was prepared to settle for payment of the out-of-pocket medical expenses.
Yes.
I think that your feelings are worth a little bit more than that. And while she's suing for $5,000, and I don't think these people are in a position to pay $5,000, based upon what I read here, I'm awarding you $1,158. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I think that Aaron was very well coached.
Maria is an idiot.
And I hope that his mother doesn't spend the money before he even gets a chance to use it for college.
And I'm letting her have it because she's talking about my mom, and I don't like that.
And now the next case.
Parties on Combs versus Katura. Step forward, please.
21-year-old student Leilani Combs claims she was beaten up by a friend of a friend, 25-year-old student Natalia Katura, when she stopped to borrow a phone.
You're suing the defendant for assault.
Yes, Your Honor.
On you. And you also are suing her for some sort of emotional trauma on behalf of your son, who you say witnessed the assault.
Yes, Your Honor.
How old is your son?
He's 3 years old.
I gather from your complaint that the two of you were acquainted, although not friends, that you had some mutual friends, that you had an emergency with your car broke down, you must have been near her home and decided to go to her house to use her phone.
Yes, Your Honor.
So take it from there.
She had let me in the building. I asked her if I could please use your phone. She let me in. She then got me the phone book. Then she went to the bathroom. She came out, started making accusations, saying my son was no longer allowed in her home, and I didn't understand where this was coming from. I asked her, why is he no longer allowed over here? She said that he had put gum in the holes of her closet. I asked her to explain this because he had been standing there with me the whole time. And then that's what she had done. And then after that, I had made a crude remark because and then she had attacked me. She told me to get out of her house, and she pulled my hair. And then my son was witnessing this. She put me
she pulled your hair. And then what happened after she pulled your hair?
Put me in a headlock and started hitting me in the left side of my face. And my son was at the feet of me, and he was screaming and crying and hitting Natalia, trying to tell Natalia to get off of me. And I was trying to tell my son it's okay, because he was hysterical. And I'm trying to bend over, trying to help my son. And as I'm trying to help him, she continues to attack me.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
Did you seek medical treatment?
I did.
Do you have proof of medical treatment?
I do. And Honor, if you could feel this left side of my face, I know you can't see it, but it's completely bumped, like it has scar tissue under here already, and plus I'm going to have my nose done, which I have a statement from a surgeon that's going to cost me $4,000. Here's the ER report.
I assume that you reported this to the police.
I did.
Was the defendant arrested?
She wasn't, because I had talked to a detective about it, and they're having a problem working this out, because I guess when two people try to press charges, it makes it harder.
So bottom line is you are not pursuing this matter criminally?
I am. I'm still trying to. I even have a police report with the detective that I'm working with.
So you intend to pursue it criminally?
Oh, definitely.
Well, Ms. Couture, let me just tell you before I ask you some questions and before I continue with this case, if in fact the plaintiff pursues this matter criminally, anything that you say today in these proceedings can be used against you in a criminal proceeding. Do you understand that?
Yes, I do.
And do you further understand that it would be my best advice to you not to continue with this proceeding until you have had an opportunity to consult with an attorney? Do you understand that?
Yes, I do.
Do you want to speak to an attorney?
Yes, I do.
You think at this point it's in your best interest not to pursue this case until you've had an opportunity to speak to an attorney?
Yes, I do.
So you want me to adjourn this case until you have that opportunity?
Yes.
Fine. When did this incident occur?
On June 10th, Your Honor.
Of this year?
Yes.
So it's a relatively fresh complaint?
Very.
And if you are going to pursue it with the district attorney, I'm going to adjourn this case for 2 months to allow you to do that. Thank you, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Back, go to your right, please.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I just hope that she can live up to what she did, and I just hope justice is served.
When someone attacks you in your home, you have to defend yourself, even though I am much bigger, but still, she came into my home and attacked me.
Paid. Judith says it wasn't her dog who did it.
Order, all rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please, all rise. Your Honor, this is case number 270 on the calendar in the matter of Snodgrass versus Peterson. Judge, the parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat.
According to you, Mr. Snodgrass, you have a dog.
Yes, ma'am.
That you keep in the backyard.
Yes.
Female dog. You look outside your window one day, and lo and behold, you see your dog engaged in fornication.
Yes, ma'am.
Clean
Yes,
that up?
ma'am.
You did very well, Judge.
Just trying to find just the right word. With a strange dog.
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of dog do you have?
Actually, I have a yellow lab.
So that's a pretty big dog.
Good-sized dog, medium-sized dog.
And this interloper
Yes, ma'am.
was what kind of dog?
Actually, it was, I'm not sure exactly what kind of dog it was. It was maybe some kind of, maybe an Australian Shepherd, Heeler mix, but it was not a dog that I could identify
But
as a
also
breed
a
of dog.
big dog.
Probably about a medium-sized dog, maybe similar in size to the dog I had.
Well, dog that evidently picked the right size mate anyway.
Yeah.
So you go charging outside, and what did you do?
Well, actually, the kennel was located on the side of my house, so I was delivering water to my dog when this happened. When the interloping dog saw me, he scaled the fence, and so I went back inside.
Just a second. You mean just like that? He disengaged?
He disengaged.
Disengaged.
He quit his business right there and decided that he better hightail it out of there. And I, at that point in time, kind of said, hey,
Isn't it
what are
amazing
you
how
doing?
guys can do that?
It's dogs. Dogs can do that.
What?
Dogs can do that.
That's right. So after this happened, I did not recognize the dog. I mean, I only saw him for a moment, but I didn't recognize him as any of the dogs that are in my neighborhood. So I went back inside, and I saw him kind of skipping down the sidewalk. He seemed pretty happy. And,
Pretty happy.
Seemed pretty happy at that point in time.
Okay.
And he was kind of going down the sidewalk, so I knew that I had to figure out whose dog it was. So I grabbed my wife's camera, hopped in her car, and proceeded to just observe this dog, and knowing that at some point in time he would go home.
You followed the boy.
I followed him. And he went here and there, and after about a half an hour or so of following him, he jumped over another fence. He went kind of down a little ditch canal and jumped over another fence. And so I was curious where that was, so I parked my car, walked through this parking lot, and looked over the fence, and kind of started barking and stuff. So that kind of keyed me in that was probably his house. So I went around the block to the front, and of course when I went around to the front, there he was, standing there in his smugness, I guess.
And it turned out to be the home of the defendant.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
So you went up to her at that time?
No, ma'am. Actually, what happened was I took some pictures. One of the things that I noticed was that a hole had actually been cut. Even though the dog could scale the fence, a hole had been cut or had been worn through by the dog, so that he had basically free reign of...
Let me see the picture.
Let me find that real quick. He had free reign of the property there, which I felt was kind of an interesting situation.
There is a
of the
hole there,
in the
but
side of the fence.
that's a whole other story. So the dog didn't have free reign.
You mean right near the house is where the hole
Yes,
is?
ma'am.
Right, this little spot right here?
Yes. And in one of the pictures that you've been given there, they've actually got a picture of him peeking back through the hole there.
I gotcha. Right over there. Little spot right over here. All right, well, there did come a time when you found out who the owner was.
Yeah, I tried to contact the defendant a little bit later in the day. Actually, I went home and contacted the Humane Society. They told me at that time that what I needed to do was I needed to get my dog to a veterinarian as soon as possible, because at that point in time I wasn't sure whether a successful breeding had occurred or not.
Because your dog was in heat?
Yes, she was. They told me that I needed to get her to a vet right away to have an injection that would suspend any kind of pregnancy or anything, but I needed to get her in real soon. So I took her to the vet. The very next morning, or the very next afternoon, I went to the defendant's home. At that point in time, I had a vet bill for the actual injection, and then the vet required 3 subsequent visits to the vet to do blood work and some things to make sure that no infection or anything had occurred. I rang the doorbell. She came to the door. Her and her dog were inside. I talked to her for just a moment and told her what basically had occurred. She said, that she didn't have any money, and that she wasn't sure if that was the case, and that I was probably just trying to get money out of her or whatever.
And that's where it's at. Now, when did this occur, sir?
The day that the dog was at my house was July 17th. I talked to her on the 18th, which was a Saturday.
Okay. Well, knowing a little bit about the gestation period is 63 days. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
So you haven't had puppies?
No, my dog ended up not having puppies, which was a blessing.
And what were your vet bills as a result of this?
The vet bills that I have at this point in time come up to $346.35. The injections and the subsequent visits also, because of the breeding, being real unsanitary conditions, my dog also contracted a urinary tract infection and some other things, and so she was kind of in bad shape for a while, and so she had to be put on a special diet for a month and some other things.
But your total vet bills are $346.35.
$346.35, yes, ma'am.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Baloney! That sounds stupid to you? Aren't you following me? Doesn't make sense. It's not true.
And later today,
You came in, you ordered a beer,
Yes.
took a swig, you felt something going in your throat.
I think I just swallowed a piece of glass.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Mark Snodgrass says Judith Peterson owes him for veterinarian bills after her dog mated with his pet Labrador. Judith says her dog didn't do it.
Now I'll hear you.
Well, most of what he said is true. He did come to my house. I keep my dog chained up in my front yard, not in my backyard. I don't let him have free rein. The hole isn't there so he can come in and out as he pleases. He is chained up and with a stake that goes into the ground 3 foot. When he's not chained up, he was in the house with me. He showed up at my door. I told him no, I didn't know if it happened. I was on a limited income and I wasn't going to pay him. Well, 2 days later, he came over to my house and I was at work and he started questioning my neighbor. What did I do for a living? What was going on? You know, did I have kids? All this stuff. And that made me very concerned. I was wondering why this man over this, you know, he had stated too when he left, well, I'm going to take you to court and sue you for a lot more.
Ma'am, if I could real quick, just to clarify something real quick. One of the reasons that I continued to go to the defendant's house was that after this incident and I talked to her, she continued to let her dog run loose in the neighborhood.
That is not true at all.
As a matter of
Ms.
fact,
Peterson.
as a matter of fact, I have a list of every time that I called and talked to the Humane Society.
I'm not interested in your list. I'm not
There are
interested
2 other dogs in that neighborhood that look exactly like my dog.
Listen to me. Gentleman comes to your house and tells you that your dog got out of this chained area that you had the dog in, and this is what occurred. To me, a normal response would be, well, let me go out and see whether the chain is broken or anything else.
I did.
My dog was outside chained up. Now, when he came to your house, where was your dog?
He was in the house.
He had just come into the house.
No.
Baloney!
No, he was on the chain when I got home from work that day.
Listen
and
to
I
me.
let him in the house.
Oh,
That's
Ms.
where
Peterson,
I
I
keep him.
don't believe you. I don't believe you. I don't believe that this man, who was very, very careful about getting into his car and following the dog, and the dog, who you said, well, there were lots of dogs that looked like my dog.
Not lots, too.
So there were 2 other dogs, and one of those 2 other dogs left their property, came to his property, did this dastardly deed, and then went home to their property, and he mistakenly saw your dog that was in the house, according to you, in the house.
When
And
he came to my house,
he says,
was.
So he was clairvoyant, because he said, well, that looks like a house that probably has a dog in it that looks just like the dog that was outside fornicating with my dog. That sounds stupid to you? Give me a break. You didn't take good care of your dog and it was running around the neighborhood.
That's not true.
Of course it was true. Aren't you following me? Didn't you understand me? How could he know that a dog that looked just like the dog that was with his dog in the backyard happened to live in your house if the dog was in your house? It doesn't make sense. It's not true. You owe him $346.35. Pay him.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
The defendant had a responsibility to pay for what her dog did.
He still continues to come over to my house and call the dog catcher, even though my dog doesn't live there anymore. He's a jerk.
And now the next case.
Party's on. Popovich versus McCauley. Step forward, please.
36-year-old silversmith Frank Popovich says bar owner Corey McCall owes him for medical bills after he swallowed glass from a broken beer bottle. Corey says he found the bottle and the broken glass, so Frank couldn't have swallowed it.
You, sir, own a bar of some sort, is that right?
Yes, I do.
And you were a patron in that bar.
Yes.
According to your complaint, sir, you came in, you ordered a beer.
Yes.
And then instead of having the beer put in a glass, which would have been the genteel thing to do, you took a swig, you felt something going in your throat, you looked down at the glass and at the beer bottle, and what did you see?
I saw that there was a piece missing off the lip of the glass, or off the lip of the bottle, and Josh and another friend of mine, they saw that I was having some problem or something was wrong, and I said, yeah, I think I just swallowed a piece of glass. And they took a look at the bottle and they went, whoa, you know, and they called the bartender over and I said, look, you know, the beer bottle is broken, I think I swallowed a piece of glass. The bartender took the bottle and she replaced it with a new one.
Did you finish the second one?
I didn't finish it. I was drinking it, and I still felt something in the back of my throat. And I was debating whether to go to the hospital right then or whether I should wait a little bit just to see, because I wasn't quite sure. And in the meantime, all of a sudden, I just had this sensation. I went into the bathroom. I began to gag.
Shh, sir, stop playing with things.
I began to gag. I was just kind of dry heaving, and I went, oh, this isn't, there's something there.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
It's still rough. I'm gonna sue myself. You injured the judge.
Closed captioning, sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. Frank Popovich wants bar owner Corey McCall to pay his medical expenses after he was served a beer in a broken bottle.
What kind of surgery did you have, sir?
They put me under and they basically just scraped the inside of my throat.
Okay, go.
Okay, Your Honor. Well, Mr. Popovich swallowed something that night, but it was not glass. After my bartender took the bottle from him, she kept the bottle, put it in the office, and because he hadn't left the bar till about midnight that night, it seemed fishy to me. So the next morning, I came back into the bar, opened up the bottle cap receptacle, and found the original bottle cap with the chunk of glass missing, stuck to the top of the glass cap. And it fits the bottle perfectly.
All right, so let me take a look at the bottle and the bottle cap that you have.
Now, there was a tiny piece of glass that is missing from there. He says
Just a
that...
second. Shh. I'd love to play Sherlock Holmes.
There's glass stuck to the tape, too, as well.
I see it. Well, I certainly see Mr. Popovich. What he's talking about when he says he found a piece of glass in this bottle cap, which was very smart of you to do, sir.
Thank you.
To go around and see if you could find the culprit cap. However, as with all things, if you were to take a magnifying glass and look at this, you will see, because you can feel it if you put your nail over it, that even if you put this piece snugly on top, it's still rough. I find one spot where I can fit my nail in it. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, there's also a piece of glass stuck to the inside tape, though, too.
Yeah, well, that may be. I find one spot where I can actually stick my
That's
nail
about
in it
the
on
size
one
of the piece.
side.
Because it broke off perfectly, Your Honor. The pieces were embedded in the cap perfectly when I found it the next morning because it was undisturbed.
Sir, listen to me. When you break something, it may look like a perfect break. I can put my finger across here and feel several areas where, I'm going to sue myself. I got a piece of glass in my finger. See what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you understand what I mean?
Right.
Little tiny. I did, Bird. Little tiny slivers that sliver off, even if it seems to be a clear break.
Right.
Right? So, and you can tell that because you injured the judge with your cap, trying to make my point. You have an absolute liability, sir, with regard to this. Absolute. No issue. Your bartender should have taken a look to see that she was serving a bottle that wasn't broken. I mean, you think that this man subjected himself to throat surgery, to having somebody scrape down his throat because he was fooling around? Because he was trying to sue you? It's ridiculous. I mean, they stuck tubes down his throat. You know how uncomfortable that is?
And up
If he
my
was
nose.
just, and down his nose, if he was just fooling around trying to make a lawsuit, and if he was trying to make a lawsuit, he would have wanted a lot more than just his medical bills paid.
Then why did he continue to drink at the bar if he thought he had swallowed something after we asked him to leave? To go seek medical attention?
Who knows? You know, sometimes you do it and you feel, you say, maybe I'm imagining things. I really wonder if I swallowed anything. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. But I do feel something scratchy back here. Maybe it's something, maybe it isn't. I don't want to go to the emergency room. It's an unpleasant thing to go for an emergency room, you know. It's almost as unpleasant as somebody sticking a tube down your nose as somebody sticking a tube up your behind. You know, neither thing is very pleasant, right? So you try to put that sort of thing off, right? I can tell you that. It's not a nice thing to do.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
He's suing you for $4,100. That's a bargain. Surgery alone, having that kind of surgery alone, is really unpleasant. How do you open this? Who's the bartender? How do you open it? You open it one of those things that's on the bar and you go, boom.
No, it's just a little receptacle thing. You just put in and
You
open
go like
it.
that.
Yeah, just put it in.
No,
open it
she
up.
said she slammed it down. She said she put it in and she slammed it down.
That's what I've usually seen in the
No.
movies, you know. They go,
No, and I did not say that to him at any time.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $4,100, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Out the back door to your right.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy,
I have a piece of glass in my throat. It's bothering me. I lay awake at night with the sensation of something in my throat, and I want it out.
When an individual thinks that he swallowed a chunk of glass the size that was missing from the bottle, common sense would be to go have it checked out. Instead, he chose to sit there and drink more for the next 3 hours.
I really don't drink. And for him to say that I was there for 3 hours drinking, I mean, his story is completely wrong.
justified firing her. She was belligerent to their children.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. Yeah, this is case number 227 on the calendar in the matter of Mixture versus Clouser. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
How do you pronounce your last name? Mixture?
Mixture.
You were hired by the defendants to take care of their two little boys
Yes, I was.
as a nanny.
Mm-hmm.
That was in August of this year. You worked for them for 3 days and they fired you.
4.
4 days and they fired you. You want to be compensated because you say they breached a contract that they had with you.
Yes.
How did you find this job?
It was through a nanny agency.
Had you worked for the agency before?
Not through the agency, but I did have a job at the time when I went for the interview as a nanny.
Why did you leave that job?
Unsanitary conditions.
How long had you been working at that job?
For about 2 or 3 weeks.
So for a short time. Before that, who did you work for?
I worked for a cosmetic company.
So you really had no experience as a nanny?
Not an in-home nanny, but as a preschool teacher. I worked for a year as a preschool teacher overseas and an international preschool.
You put an ad through this agency. You
Correct.
applied to this agency. You paid them a fee, I assume.
We did not pay the fee because the fee had not been paid by the time that we had fired, and she did not charge us for the fee.
Did you ask for references?
Yes, I have her application that have references and her work experience and.
So you knew she had no experience as a nanny?
We knew that she had experience in a preschool that was in Egypt.
That you never checked on?
We never checked on, no.
That's not smart.
No.
How old are your children?
Casey is actually a girl, 5, and Trey is 2.
Why did you let her go?
I came home the first night, actually her first day with the kids by herself, because I had spent one day with her, with the children. And they did not hear me come in because they were upstairs in the bathroom with the door shut. She was running the shower to give the kids a bath. They didn't know that I had come in, and even though I was saying hello, hello, walked up to the top of the stairs, and as I got to the top of the stairs, I could hear her angrily talking to the kids, knock it off, get over here right now, your mother is going to be home in just a minute, knock it off. It wasn't so much what she said, it was the tone and the anger in her voice. So I sat and listened to it for a couple of minutes. And finally, when I had knocked on the door, there was utter surprise that I was there, of course. And then she came out smiling and telling me what a wonderful day they had had. In the back of my mind, I thought, if this is a wonderful day, what's going to happen on a bad day?
Okay.
I know dealing with 2 children that there are bad days. The reason she got fired was because I didn't feel that her ability was there to handle ongoing stressful situations.
No. Okay. Did you pay her for the week?
I paid her for the week.
Is that right?
Yes, she did, but that's not true at all, Your Honor. I worked with 25 kids around the same age in Egypt for 1 year, and I never had complaints. Never, not one time. I'm very, very patient, and when she came home that day, I do admit I had a different tone in my voice, but this is the way I was trained, and I have always worked with kids this way, where I use a different tone so that they understand that I'm saying no, but I never ever was angry or yelled or knock it off. I never said that.
You don't have to establish to me that you used the tone, you didn't use the tone. In her mind, in her ears, she wasn't happy with your tone.
I understand that, but
So-
you know, when we did go out to the garage to talk about it, I apologized to her only because, like you said, she's the mother of these 2 kids. She knows what she likes to have said to her kids, how she likes it said. She didn't give me a chance maybe to try again.
She doesn't have to do that.
Your Honor, she knew that I had this job. I had told her the first day that I had a job already. And when she told me about the contract, that she always signs contracts with nannies to protect herself as well as the nanny.
Well, let me see the contract that you say you have.
I also have a piece of paper from the agency that claims that she was not working 3 to 4 months prior to her coming to our job.
Well, let me see what you have.
I told you before that.
Let me see what you have. What date were you interviewed by these people?
I believe it was July 28th.
Okay, and you were told to start the very next week, is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
So when did you quit your previous job?
I had already given her notice. I had already discussed with...
You gave her notice when?
I gave her notice after the nanny agency called me and told me that she has a few interviews for me, including Jamie's.
Okay. So before you were hired by her, you quit your job?
No.
That's what you just told me. I said, when did you give her notice? You just said to me, before, when I got a call from the nanny agency. Just a second, madam. Just make sure. I mean, I'm still lucid at my age. You just said to me, you gave notice to your job when you got a call from the agency, and the agency told you they had set up a couple of interviews for you.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, if I
Just
could
a
finish.
second. So you quit your job and gave notice before she hired you. That's what you just told me.
No, I didn't mean to say that. I had already given notice to them. What I had told Lily, the woman I was working for before, is that I told her that I'm looking for another job. I will stay with you until I find another job. I had told her this 1 week before I met Jamie and went on the interview. I told her I could leave at any time. I told her this.
For somebody who's very careful about their children, you hired somebody who's a pretty fast talker. I think that it's fine that you gave her a week's salary. I certainly think that if you wanted to be more reasonable and you were smarter, you would have given her 2 weeks' salary and said, look, I'm going to pay you for this week, and I'm even going to pay you for next week. So it'll give you an opportunity to go back to the agency. How much were you paid each week?
With the minimum?
Yes.
$187.50.
Is that right?
That's with the minimum.
You know, I mean, we do it by hours, so I don't know what the exact amount is. 25 hours minimum at $750.
$750.
You're suing for $3,700 and some odd dollars.
Yes. And
you don't have a prayer, madam. Not a prayer.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Do I look as if I need help from you? Just a second.
sorry.
Do I look like I need help from you?
No.
And later today,
She took a whole evening to come to my home with 2 police officers and a video camera. They searched my home, saying I stole her cat, I stole her dog. I mean, this went on and on and on.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Nanny Samantha Mickshee wants Jamie and Bob Clauser to pay her salary, claiming she was wrongly fired.
I don't find that this agreement is anything more than a job description.
That was our interpretation when we wrote it. We wrote a work agreement, not a contract.
No, she told me contract.
And we guaranteed her that was a bad choice of words. The correct word would have been we assured her a certain number of hours each week.
Well, that's what
because we work a different. She worked a different number of hours.
Do I look as if I need help from you? Just a second.
sorry.
Do I look like I need help from you?
No.
Weren't you listening to what I said, sir? What I said was I don't view this as a contract which guarantees her pay from now until the end of the year. What I view it as is a job description, which in effect guarantees her when she's working for you the minimum number of hours to ensure that she doesn't have to double up on jobs, which would give her, if she worked for you, 25 hours a week minimum. What I did say, if you were listening, was you fired her. And you fired her really for tone because you weren't happy with the way she was handling a situation. Quite frankly, based upon what I'm hearing today, it was probably a very good choice that you made. However, in all fairness, she didn't do anything outrageous to your children, right?
Right.
So you should have given her a week's salary so that she could have at least spent the next week looking for another job. I do believe she gave notice to her job before. I mean, after all, she left them on a Friday and came to work for you on a Monday. That's not giving them a hell of a lot of notice. Not terribly responsible. I don't believe her story for a second. In any event, I think you should have given her another week's salary to give her an opportunity to find something else. So I'm going to give her $187.50. Nowhere near $3,700 that you want. This is not a guarantee, what they call in the television industry pay or play, right? Even if you don't work, you get paid. That's quite a trick. Even I don't get that. $187 for the plaintiff. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Bottom line, my kids are safe, and I feel I made the right decision in the beginning.
We'll look a little deeper next time.
And now the next case.
Parties on Zeldin versus McInerney. Step forward, please.
33-year-old special ed instructor Robin Zeldin claims her former roommate, 40-year-old nurse Joan McInerney, abused her by bringing her to court too many times. She's suing for abuse of process.
You two ladies had been roommates from 1996 to 1997, according to the papers that I read.
Yes, Your Honor.
And that live-in situation terminated acrimoniously, I gather, because there have been a series of lawsuits for return of security deposit, to damage to the property, all in small claims court, and all of those cases have at this juncture been resolved.
Correct.
So the only thing that is outstanding now is a lawsuit that you filed against her for abuse of process, which is abusing the court system and you.
Yes, Your Honor.
By bringing you to court in a frivolous manner on multiple occasions.
Yes.
That's the only thing that I'm considering. Okay. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
How many lawsuits did she file against you?
She filed, first was a restraining order that she did not show up in court for. I did. It was dismissed.
When was that?
That was in January of 1998. And
Do you have the papers on that?
Yes, I do, Your Honor. Then she filed in...
Just a minute. Let me take a look. You filed this action for a restraining order against her, is that right?
Yes, I did.
And then you didn't show up in court?
I didn't know I was supposed to show up. They just said if you file a restraining order, it was just to keep her away from me and stop her from threatening me. She constantly threatening me on the telephone.
Just a second. You filed this proceeding, and then on the day that it was scheduled to be heard, you didn't appear.
I didn't know I was supposed to appear for a temporary restraining order.
What did you think happened to a temporary restraining order?
That they were just going to serve her to stay away from me and stop threatening me. That's what I was told.
No, nobody told you that. All right. Anyway, so she filed this one, filed in December of 1997.
Correct.
What was the next action she filed against you?
In May 25th, 1998, in small claims court.
And you didn't appear on the return date?
I had major surgery April the 1st. Recuperating time was 6 months. I sent the judge everything.
Just a second. Hold it. You had major surgery in April?
April 1st.
And you were given a return date?
Yes.
What was that date?
I don't recall what the date was. I was recuperating at the time.
I have it June 24th, 1998.
All right. So 2.5 months after you were recuperating, you didn't appear in court, and you requested a continuance.
That's right.
How do you support yourself?
I'm a nurse.
When did you return to work?
After my surgery, approximately 6 weeks.
So while you had your surgery on the 1st of April, you returned to work in mid-June.
Yes.
So you returned to work prior to the return date on this case?
Yes, I was able to work
Just a second. You were able to work?
Yes.
Now, what reason did you give the judge for requesting a continuance?
I still had a cast on my leg. I worked with a cast on my leg.
Well, if you worked with a cast on your leg, listen to me, if you worked with a cast on your leg, you can get to court with a cast on your leg.
Your Honor, the reason I didn't go to court many times is because my life was threatened by her. I don't know how many times when I was living with her.
I'm not interested in living with her.
And I was afraid of her.
No, listen to me. If you were afraid of her, madam, then you wouldn't have filed these lawsuits against her.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I acted in a very cowardly manner. I was afraid of her.
Your actions don't say that. Your actions say, I'm going to give it to her, as my grandfather would say.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 33-year-old special ed instructor Robin Zeldin claims her former roommate, 40-year-old nurse Joan McInery, abused her by bringing her to court too many times.
What I want to know is, you went back to work in June, well before you were scheduled to appear in court, and then you wrote to the court and you said to the court that you had just had major surgery and you were recuperating.
Yes.
That's what you told them.
Yes.
You didn't tell them you went back to work.
Part-time.
I don't care whether you went back to work part-time or full-time. Going to court is not a full-time job. It takes one evening. All right. So then you were given an adjourn date because you wrote requesting an adjourn date. And what was the return date that you were then given?
I don't recall because I kept getting phone calls from her. So
I'm not interested in the phone calls.
I don't recall. I do not recall.
What was the adjourn date?
Well, I won the judgment on June 24th. And then I got a vacate the judgment order on September 15th that she refiled again. And I once again appeared in court and she was not there. So her judgment was dismissed.
Why not?
Just afraid of her. And I know that sounds silly, but you don't know the story that's behind this. I have to have a chance to explain why.
No. Listen, you tell me that you're afraid of her. To me, if you're afraid of somebody, then you don't create situations like coming to court where you both have to be together over a couple of dollars. Your original suit was just for a few $100s.
That's right.
I mean, if you were actually afraid of her, what you would have said was, I want to drop the whole thing. I don't want to see her. I don't want to be in the same room with her. Nothing. But instead, it appears to me that on now 4 occasions, you have filed actions requiring her to appear, and you've not appeared.
Because if she won, if I won, I was afraid what she would do to me if I won, because she told me what she would do on many occasions.
So why didn't you?
So I let it go.
Your Honor,
Just a minute. You didn't let it go. If you let it go, you wouldn't have written and requested a continuance.
Your Honor,
Jump. You're winning. Be quiet.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yes, I acted in a very cowardly manner. I was afraid of her.
Just a second. Didn't you think it was going to be frustrating every time you had a court date if you didn't show up because, as you said, you were afraid of her, and she went to court because you never notified her you weren't going to court? If she went to court, don't you think that would make her just a tad angry?
A little bit, yes.
Well, if you really didn't want to exacerbate the situation and make her more angry with you, you wouldn't have done anything to make her even more frustrated because she took a morning, an afternoon, an evening to go to court.
Your Honor, you know, she took a whole evening to come to my home with 2 police officers and a video camera. They searched my home, saying I stole her cat, I stole her dog. I mean, this went on and on and on.
No, let me tell you something. The more you're talking to me, the more it's coming crystal clear to me that this course of conduct was designed to frustrate her. And that belies the fact that you tell me that you were afraid of her. Because if you're afraid of somebody, what you try to do is you try to stay as far away from them as possible. That's if you're normal. Now, you may have had good reason to feel frightened by her. You may have. I'm not getting into that, because quite frankly, I'm not interested. But your actions don't say that. Your actions say, I'm going to give it to her, as my grandfather would say.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
I'm not satisfied with your answers because, quite frankly, not only am I frustrated for her, but I'm frustrated for courts who have to sit and listen to this and have people who are waiting to have their cases heard, and they can't have their cases heard because the judge has to sit and listen to a case, and then it's the judgment is set aside because they get a letter from you that you had surgery and you couldn't come to court, which is really untrue. Because you were at work? Because you were at work at the time that you said you couldn't come to court? Baloney. Look, how many hours did you spend in court?
Well, I had to take a day off of work. I work in Monterey Park, so...
On each of those 4 occasions?
Correct.
What's a day's pay?
About $150 a day. I have a pay stub.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $600. Don't abuse the courts to settle disputes. Don't abuse the courts. Use the courts, but don't abuse them, madam.
Thank you, Your Honor. You may step out. I'll back to your right, please.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
She never gave me cash.
Love with the wrong personal trainer.
Wouldn't you think that someone had an infatuation for me?
Looking at you standing there, not a chance in hell.
Judge Judy Justice.
To everybody out there, be careful who you rent to because they might lie.
She never let me explain the horror that I lived with this woman and what she put me through when she brought her lover in to live with her. They stole from me, they trashed my room, they took my parking space, and I would not begin to tell you what they did to my dog. It's ludicrous.
She was not allowed to have a dog in the house that we rented. I was not around when the dog was around. I never touched her, pushed her, assaulted her. She's just a scary woman, and she needs to be stopped.
Patricia is countersuing for the bill she had to pay.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 292 on the calendar in the matter of Hoffman Long versus Hallaby. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
Miss Hoffman.
Yes.
This is your sister.
That's correct.
And you're suing your sister about something that has to do with a computer.
That's right.
A computer that was leased for you or for your son. You're the son?
Right. Correct.
By your sister. Because
Exactly.
she had some sort of an in with this computer company.
It's just at the time, my sister was not creditworthy and her son didn't have a job. He was unemployed.
But do you have some sort of a working relationship with this computer company, or you work with a company that...
Oh, no, Judge. My sister did all the legwork and tried to see which was the best suitable computer she could lease.
Okay. You had nothing to do with this,
No,
is that right?
I did. Actually, I approached her asking because I did need a computer for school for business. I wanted to prepare myself for the working world.
Your Honor,
and,
that's
And I also painted her house, reupholstered. I did some menial labor for her. So, you know, hey, I need a computer. I wasn't credit worthy at the time, and I could pay for it. And so I said, look, Patricia, can you please sign this lease because you're credit worthy, and I'll pay on a monthly basis. She said, fine.
Did you speak to your sister about this, or did your son?
My son, Michael.
What I'm asking you is it was the arrangement that you would pay for this leased computer?
Right.
You, not your son?
Right.
Were you working at the time?
Yes.
And your son wasn't working?
Right, he was in the process of looking for...
Process. Your sister wasn't going to lease a computer on his process. She was leasing a computer because you were employed. Right. And you assured her that you would pay, that you would pay the bill. Right.
I did.
Okay.
I did not have any monetary agreements with her son.
I said that. You're not paying attention. You're not paying attention to what just transpired.
I just wanted to make that clear.
Pay attention. I've already established that.
Yes, Your Honor.
We have established thus far that you had an agreement with your sister.
Yes.
That she was going to pay the monthly installments on this computer.
Yes.
And because they either weren't paid on time or because they weren't posted on time, your credit was at risk.
Yes.
Perfect. So what did you do?
I approached my sister and asked her over the phone, what is it going to take for you to get caught up? That's when the negativity came about. She would not take my phone calls. She had a restraining order put on me so that I could...
Did you have a restraining order placed?
Yes.
Why?
She brought over 2 police officers from the Glendale department, and because we talked to them, my mother spoke to them, they suggested that we do it just to protect ourselves.
For what?
Because they were tired of her antics, they told us.
No.
Your Honor, she had called several times saying that she was going to get her associates that she's gone into business with to come over and kick our ass. She demanded the computer back because she claims that we were not paying for it.
Okay.
When in fact we have proof that we have been paying for it.
Let me see the proof that you had that you were paying for it, the canceled checks.
I have I'm send money orders, and I have a copy for you. And I would send these payments overnight them. I would spend $10.75 extra so they can be overnight.
What day of the month are these things supposed to be paid?
I would send them at the end
I
of
didn't
each
ask you
month.
when you would send them. I asked you what day of the
15th.
month were these...
Okay.
Just a minute. Were you making these checks?
I was buying the money.
Were you...
I was putting some of the money in. As far as not being employed, I was employed. I was making money and I was sending money in.
It's not what I asked.
No, I wasn't.
Sit down.
Okay.
You were getting the money orders.
Either myself or my son.
What day of the month was this account supposed to be paid?
Okay, originally it was stated to be paid on the 15th, but Dell was, they had computer problems for 2 months. The last months of the year, 1997. We did not get any notice until the latter part of December. But by that time, I had already been sending my payments at the end of each month, and that's when I decided to keep it that way because all my other payments that I would make on a monthly basis were falling in that particular time. So I couldn't take money out from another area to pay them on the 15th because I already had done it on the end of the month, each month.
Well, I'm telling you this right now. None of your payments were made on the 15th of the month.
No,
None of your
not.
payments were made. Let me to give you the dates. January 19th, February 25th, March 30th.
Right.
April 28th. You have May 30th. Then you have one for June 15th. So that one you paid on time. So all the other ones you didn't pay on time. Who's got the computer now?
Dell.
No,
Dell has it back because my sister had a representative.
That was unclear in the papers where the computer is.
The representative, which my sister Tricia spoke to, Miss Bryan, demanded that we send the computer to them. And my son obliged by doing so.
You say they don't have it back?
Your Honor, the last time I spoke with my sister, she did not tell me the computer was back. When Dell had a three-way conversation with Ms. Hoffman and asked her to return the computer because it would ruin my credit. Ms. Hoffman said, I shipped it. They asked her, how did you ship it? Did you tell the leaser? No, I don't have to say anything.
That's not true.
Show me proof that you
That's
sent
not
this
true.
computer back to them, please.
She was aware of it.
Just a second. Okay. Well, I have something that was sent on and delivered on the 5th of September. And it was sent to Dell Computer, and it seems to be signed by somebody.
That's
At
new
Dell
knowledge
Computer.
to me, ma'am.
Okay. Well, unfortunately, you two sisters aren't talking to each other, so that's
Exactly.
very sad. But you did send it back, right?
Exactly.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Your lawsuit is crazy. You leased something. You got the service for the lease. The service for the lease was he got to use a computer for the 6 or 8 months that you had the computer.
And later today,
What kind of car was this?
It's a super stretch limousine.
How big is that?
It's 32 feet long. And this car is white.
That's taller than I am.
Considerably.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Rosemary Hoffman is suing her sister, Patricia Hallaby, for reneging on a promise to lease a computer to Rosemary's son, Michael. Patricia says Rosemary owes her for not paying the lease on time.
Now, what I don't understand is you or your son actually used this computer for the months that you had it. So what are you suing her for?
I want the monies that I paid for because this was a verbal agreement between my sister and my son Michael that at the end of the lease we were to purchase the computer and it would be for my son to use it for his work.
You had a lease agreement that permitted you to have use of a very expensive piece of equipment for $141.75 a month.
Right.
You, in fact, used the computer for all the months that you had it. Through no fault of your sister's, you were late in the payments for at least the last 5 months that I saw based upon what you've shown me.
Right, because
Well,
I send them at the end of each month.
You can't send them at the end of each month. You have to send them when you're supposed to. Dell wanted it on the 15th. You got the service of this computer for the months that you had it, and you paid for it, $141.75. I am not ordering her to pay you all the money that you paid, because how is she going to take back the information that your son got from using the computer all those months? Your lawsuit is crazy. You leased something. You got the service for the lease. The service for the lease was he got to use a computer for the 6 or 8 months that you had the computer. Now, you have a counterclaim, and your counterclaim is for the cost of the lease. Now, she returned the computer.
Without my knowledge.
I don't care whether it was with your knowledge or without your knowledge. Have you gotten, since September 15th or September 20th, information from Dell Computers that they, in fact, are seeking more money from you? The answer is either yes or no.
Yes, it is, ma'am.
Let me see it. It says late payment 8/6/98. That's August.
That's...
Bird, what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to take from her the signed receipts from Dell. I'd like you to make Xerox copies of them. I'd like you to get the copies of them to Miss Hallaby so that she can communicate with Dell Computer, show them that they have, in fact, received this computer back.
Right.
Based upon the sworn testimony of her sister. If it is incorrect, Miss Hallaby, that she has returned the computer, and she has not, which I doubt because she wouldn't be so stupid to stand here and lie to me that she has, in fact, returned the computer if she didn't,
Yes.
then you are free to come back to court, file your own complaint, because right now, the only evidence that I have is that the computer has, in fact, been returned. Do you understand?
I understand that
Good.
part.
That's all. You get nothing. You had the use of the computer, and so did he. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I didn't necessarily want to come today. The plaintiffs wanted X amount of dollars that I couldn't understand why they would want. So I'm glad we had it in this session, and I'm glad it's done and over with.
Her credit is not ruined. It's not at all ruined. It's just that she has a fanatic way of thinking that her credit, you know, that she lives on her credit.
And now the next case.
Party's on Lamberton versus Schultz. Step forward, please.
48-year-old part-time limo driver Lance Lamberton is suing limo owner Frank Schultz for not paying him. The defendant says Lance crashed his limousine and he owes him.
Mr. Lamberton, according to these papers, you worked for the defendant as a limousine driver. And over a 2-day period, about 6 months ago, 7 months ago?
March.
And you were not paid.
That's correct.
You were not paid because you assume that because you were in an accident on the second day of work, he withheld your salary.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Schultz, you can't do that.
Well, I'm sorry. I feel that he owes the money.
You feel as if he owes you money,
That's correct, Judge.
but you didn't file a counterclaim.
Yes, I have in Texas courts.
But you didn't file one here.
No, I haven't.
Now tell me about your defense, because it's clear he worked for you for those couple of days as an
Yes, it
independent
is.
contractor.
He had a job to drive some people to the Stars game down at Reunion Arena, and it was on a Sunday. And when he called during the day and he said he had an accident with my vehicle.
What kind of car was this?
It's a super stretch limousine.
How big is that?
It's 32 feet long, and this car was white.
That's taller than I am.
And I just happened to know that when I saw my car, it had a bunch of red paint across it. And I've been down to Reunion Arena a bunch of times, and I noticed that it also matches the poles of Reunion Arena because they're all over, which I have pictures of.
Your Honor, I'm not disputing the fact that that I did get into an accident. I don't think that's relevant, though, to the fact that I did work for him and I should get paid that day plus the day before.
While I agree with you, sir, that you're entitled to your pay, Mr. Schultz seems to indicate in his response that you were less than forthcoming with how this accident actually occurred when you spoke to him initially.
Mm-hmm.
Or to put it more bluntly, you lied with regard to how the car was damaged.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
What he told me is he doesn't have any collision insurance because it's too expensive, and so therefore he was trying to get me to pay for the damages and made a number of harassing telephone calls, including to my wife.
Closed captioning, sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. 48-year-old part-time limo driver Lance Lamberton is suing limo owner Frank Schultz for not paying him. The defendant says Lance crashed his limousine and he owes him.
What was the first story he told you with regard to the accident, Mr. Schultz?
He called me from the gas station about midway through the run, and he told me that some orange pickup truck hit and took off at a gas station, hit my car and took off.
Does that sound familiar to you?
Yes. When I heard the noise in the garage, when I was at the gas station, then I looked around and I saw the damage. So what happened is, when I was in Reunion Arena, when I thought I had jumped the curb, okay, I was not aware at that particular point in time that there was damage to the vehicle.
Let's take a look at it. So then you took it to the body shop, and the body shop said this is not how it happened. It happened by...
The guys have had 20, 30 years experience, and they said it was hit by a pole.
Mr. Lamberton, this is some hitting a pole or hitting a curb. You know, you said you thought you just hit a curb.
The vehicle is an extremely large vehicle, and an impact like that can happen. You cannot recognize or realize that that amount of damage could have occurred.
Now, why, Mr. Schultz, didn't you, in any event, report this to your insurance?
Well, Your Honor, for one, I needed the car like yesterday, and it cost me over about $5,000 in lost wages while I sat in the body shop for 30 days. If I had to get my insurance, I would have had to wait for an adjuster, which would take 2 weeks. Plus, on these limousines, my insurance is very, very high. My deductible is over $1,500.
Do you have insurance, sir?
I called my insurance company to see if they would cover it, and there's an exclusionary clause which says that if I'm driving a vehicle for hire, that it will not cover me for that sort of damage. I had always assumed that Mr. Schultz had collision insurance and was covered and had his vehicles covered. What he told me is he doesn't have any collision insurance because it's too expensive, and so therefore he was trying to get me to pay for the damages and made a number of harassing telephone calls, including to my wife. He was making threatening, intimidating telephone calls to the point that my wife had to call the police to make a complaint.
What kind of phone calls, Ms. Lamberton?
Your Honor, he continued to call my home when he had found out that my husband was not in town, and he threatened me that if I did not pay him the sum of $5,000, that my husband and I were going to be very, very, very sorry, and we were going to suffer. And so what I did is I went to the police department, got in my car, went there, and I filed a complaint against him, hoping that
Did you make those calls, Mr. Schultz?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Well, you did speak to her.
No, I spoke to Lance and his insurance agent.
You never spoke to his wife?
No.
That is a
Your
lie.
Honor, in all due
Your
respect,
Honor,
that's
that is
not
not true.
Okay. You're suing for the amount of your wages, is that correct?
That's correct.
You're clearly entitled to your wages. Mr. Schultz, you have a suit pending, according to you, in your local state court.
Yes, Your Honor.
That's in Texas, against him for the damage to the car. There is no counterclaim here, so I don't have to entertain it. You are required to pay a salary. If you have discomfort with an employee, if you are dissatisfied with their performance, as clearly you were, dissatisfied with his performance, your option is not to use him again.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff and the amount of their request, which is, you don't dispute the amount is of $194, do you?
Your Honor, can I say one thing?
Sure.
Since then, Mr. Lamberton's filed a case against me with the Texas Labor Board, and they've already gone and seized the money out of my account, plus an additional $75 out of my checking account.
Did you file a complaint with the Texas Labor Board?
Right, I certainly did.
And were you successful?
This is dated August 27th. I filed it in June. I still have not received any payment whatsoever from Mr.
Well,
Schultz.
Mr. Schultz indicates, sir, that the money was, in fact, taken out of his checking account, of his business checking account. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Show me.
Your Honor, I'm sorry.
Well, it's possible, Mr. Lamberton, that, as they say, the check's in the mail. So I will withhold signing a judgment in this case in the amount of $194. And I suggest that what you do is you check with the Texas Labor Board to see whether they, in fact, do have the funds. Do you understand?
Sure.
If they do not have the funds, then I will sign a judgment in 30 days. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Anyway, provisionally, the judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount requested of $194. Thank you.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
Yeah, this is case number 322 on the calendar in the matter of Hollipter versus Ambrose. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Mrs. Hollipter, who is the owner of the car in question?
I am.
And this is your husband?
Yes, ma'am.
Why don't you have a seat, sir? You filed this lawsuit against the defendant, who's your son, for damaging your car.
Correct.
Which you say occurred in an altercation that involved your husband.
Yes.
I have a couple of preliminary questions. When I read these papers, it appears that there is currently an action pending against your husband in some court. Is that a criminal case pending against your husband or a civil case?
Both, I am assuming.
What do you mean you're assuming?
Okay, the criminal...
Was he arrested?
Yes, he was, for disorderly conduct, as well as my son.
Okay. So, we are not going to entertain, sir, your counterclaim. If it's true that the action is still pending against your stepfather, then we can't take your hands out of your pockets. Then we can't entertain your counterclaim right now because he can't testify. Do you understand?
Ma'am, the only one that's currently against him is assault, and that's a totally different matter.
Assault against whom?
Assault against my girlfriend.
As a result of this incident?
Yes.
I understand that. Doesn't make any difference. If he's going to testify here, he would be testifying as to this incident. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Now, why don't you tell me what happened?
On the evening of July 21st, My husband and I got a phone call stating that my middle son, Jim, who's also our witness, had brought some people over to Michael's house wanting to buy the car that he had not paid my husband for in January.
Okay, so let's start. You had purchased a car from your stepfather.
No, ma'am. I gave him what was a down payment on the car, and we had a verbal agreement because he had another vehicle at that time that he had
Just
purchased.
a second. You were going to buy a car from your stepfather.
Yeah.
And there came a time when they wanted the car back because you weren't making payments, or they said you weren't making payments.
No, ma'am. I had gave them a down payment, and I gave them a little here and a little there because that was our verbal agreement.
Okay, but there came a time that they wanted the car back, which caused them to come over to your house that day.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that what happened?
And
That's what they were doing there.
Yes, ma'am, because I called them and told them to come pick up the car, that it was fine. And when they arrived at my house, Mr. Hollipter was in my mother's car, and apparently he was highly intoxicated.
Okay. So you went to pick up the car with your husband?
Correct.
What happened when you got there?
Well, I went on in the house and visited with his girlfriend and my 3 grandbabies.
So what happened?
There
was a problem with your husband. Look, I read the papers. There was clearly a problem with your husband. Your husband came into the house at some point and started a little bit of trouble, which caused you to have your other son. Is this your other? You have another
Your
son?
Honor.
Who are you?
Jimmy.
This is your other son?
My middle son, yes.
Which caused him to come in and take your husband and put him out into the car?
Yes, at my request.
Okay, because he was creating a problem in the house.
There was obscene language. Michael got out of the car, and my husband approached him and said, let's me and you talk about this car. And he says, you man. And my husband had an empty can of beer, threw it down on the ground. I got up after hearing the language and the tone of voice, and I opened the door. Michael rushed in real fast past me and caused me to lose my balance and go over to the side of the door. And then my husband came in right after him. Then my son came in, and I said, grab him, Jim. I didn't want any altercation.
Grab who?
My husband. I did not want anybody hurt.
Good. So you told your middle son over here to grab your husband and take him out to the car.
Yes, and I was helping.
So, according to your papers, you're in the car. Husband's getting into the car, and you're in the car. You're all about to leave when he comes out.
Correct.
And what happened when he came out?
Michael ran past me with a steel pipe about 3.5 feet long. And as we were putting my husband into the car on the passenger side, he hits the top of my door frame with a steel pipe. I'm going around to the driver's side, and he comes around to my side, is poking and gouging me and my husband with this pipe, ripped my seat, a tear about this long. He had my door body blocked open to where I could not get away. I was scared and shaken and everything else, but I did manage to get my keys back. Floorboarded my car. He grabs it. He still had the pipe in his hand like this and batted the back of my small rear glass window.
You have the photographs for me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
They are attached to the estimates.
All right, Mr. Ambrose. Now I'll hear you.
All right, I just pulled up, and Mr. Hollipter was in the car. And when he got out, look, I was already inside of my fenced-in yard. And he came up, and he had a full bottle or a full can of beer in his hand. And he said something, and I said, "Ma'am, whatever." And he said, "Don't walk away from me when I'm talking to you." And anyway, I proceeded to step up on my front porch, where he came inside my yard and grabbed me by my arm and pulled me down. Okay, and I was trying to avoid conflict, so I stepped up on my porch, went inside the house, and my girlfriend Anna, I told her to get on the phone, which is right by the door. Okay, and she was on the phone with the police when he busted in my door. And when he busted the door open, it came open and it cut my son's, one of my 3 babies' toe open, the weather stripping on the bottom of the door. And I have pictures of my door, the police report.
You have pictures of the foot?
I have pictures of the foot, but they didn't come out clear. But
well, that to me was more important than anything else.
I have a copy of the bill.
Just a second. That to me was more important than anything else. But we're not going to get into your counterclaim right now. I'm listening to this because it's important, because you were clearly very angry.
Yes, ma'am, because I felt that I had to defend my home because somebody came into my house.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
assaulted me, my girlfriend, and one of my kids and done damage to my property.
But they were leaving and you were no longer in danger, Mr. Ambrose. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am, I do, and I...
Good!
And later today,
This man waving his arms and screaming at my son. And Marco began to cry. And I gave him my card and said, "Don't yell at my son. Please call me if you would like to talk about this."
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Kathy Hollipter says her son, Michael Ambrose, ripped into her car with a pipe during an altercation with his stepfather, Robert Hollipter.
Now, Mr. Ambrose, so let's take this step by step. There came a point after all this happened that your mother and your brother were trying to get your stepfather, drunk or sober, back into the car. Now, you, according to you, were stuck in your house because you couldn't get the door open.
Yes, ma'am, because when he busted in, my doorknob was busted off. Our door frame has an 1.5 inch gap in it.
Let's assume all of that is true. He is now out of the house. You are stuck in your house and you can't open the door.
I climbed out my window.
So you climbed out the window. And where did you find this pipe?
Sitting right beside my flower pot, because we've got like 4 stairs, and you walk down, there's an extra pole there.
So you walked down the 4 steps, and there you saw
No,
this pole.
I flew down.
Flew down. And you flew down because you were...
Because somebody had came into my house and assaulted me, my girlfriend, and one of my kids, and done damage to my property.
But they were leaving, and you were no longer in danger, Mr. Ambrose. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am, I do, and
Good!
I understand that they was trying to flee the scene of what, you know.
Mr. Ambrose, you didn't have unknown burglars in your house trying to flee the scene. You had your mother and her husband and your brother. Your family was no longer in harm's way.
Well, the damage had already been done, ma'am.
Right! Right.
None of this would have occurred if somebody wouldn't have came into my house. Nothing would have occurred like that.
You're absolutely right. But the law says that once there is an intervening event, you are no longer protecting your property. Especially in this situation. These were not, as I said to you, 2 strangers who had invaded your home. This was your mother and her husband and your brother, and it was a family situation, and a very hostile family situation that was very stupid to begin with, to bring somebody who was hot-tempered and had a little too much to drink probably to the house. But you knew where they were, you knew where they lived. If you waited for the police come and you say, someone broke into my house, assaulted my wife, hurt my child, broke my door, I want to file a police report. They're not fleeing the jurisdiction, they're not going to Argentina. This is where they live. You were very angry, and what you did was you went outside, and for no reason that is legally acceptable, you damaged your mother's car.
All right.
All right.
Can I have my papers back?
You'll get them back. The estimates that I have for the car.
Well, I have pictures of that car showing that there's no way that there's any kind of, you know, that there's any way that the estimate could be $1,000.
Mr. Hollipter is a mechanic. He works odd jobs as a mechanic, and he has lots of friends who would do these for him. Those pictures were taken at her place of employment.
Without my knowledge, Your Honor.
What difference does it make? Alleged damage to the interior. The seats are ripped from where you ripped the seats with the pole.
No, ma'am, that's wear and tear on that vehicle.
We've had people look at the pictures, and they said there is no way that
Don't tell me what other people said.
An estimate.
You can't tell me what other people said in this proceeding. What year car is this?
It's a 1987 with 126,000 miles and a racing engine in it.
1987, so
Yes,
the car
ma'am.
is 11
Brand
years
new.
old.
Yes.
I think that your son may be right. I can't tell whether this damage was caused by a pole or caused by something other than a pole, sort of like...
Well, it was caused from the jagged end of the pipe on the seat. And my shoulder also had a bruise and a scratch on it from that. I had several bruises, but I did not think to take pictures of it.
Your
I
Honor.
thought since it was a family matter, we could resolve it.
Well, unfortunately you can't, and unfortunately I can't hear the rest of this case because of the matter that's pending, the criminal matter that's pending against your husband. But I am going to give you $300 to have your car painted, this 11-year-old car. That's all. Judgment in the case is for the plaintiff, the
Your
amount of
Honor.
$300. That's all.
It had a brand new paint job on it when I bought it.
That's all.
Step out. We'll get you your paperwork. Step out.
I didn't get what I expected I would get for the damage that was done to my car, and it shouldn't matter that a car is 11 years old.
She's the boss, applesauce. That's it, man.
And now the next case.
All parties on Windler versus Benson Snyderman. Step forward, please.
44-year-old administrator John Windler says his sport utility truck was dinged by 5-year-old Marco Schneiderman.
Well, I've read both of your papers, your complaint and your response, and this is not a very difficult legal question, something that happens to people all the time, so I don't quite understand your position, Miss Benson, because according to these papers, you were in a parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
Parked your car. What kind of car did you have?
1996 Ford Explorer.
And the defendant and her little boy were in the same parking lot and parked right next to your car. And according to these papers, your little boy was scurrying into the car. You were trying to put him into the car, and the door opened up wide, dinging your car.
That is correct.
So tell me what happened, sir.
I approached my car from the rear, saw her putting her child in the back rear.
This adorable little thing right over here.
Well, I believe that is the case. And she was putting him in the driver's side rear door, and as she was putting him in, the door was flung open and consequently hit my door, and at the same time I went up, showed the defendant where it hit the door, and showed her the mark on the door.
Describe the ding on the door.
About 1/4 of an inch long, all the way through the paint so that you could see the bare metal underneath, about 1/8 of an inch high.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She said, look, I don't feel like I should have to pay for this because door dings are part of life in Los Angeles. Get a life.
Closed captioning, sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. 44-year-old administrator John Windler says his sport utility truck was dinged by 5-year-old Marco Schneiderman.
What kind of conversation transpired after you saw this ding on your car?
Pointed out to her, asked her if I could get her information. She gave me her business card, and she seemed to indicate that it was, I'm paraphrasing, but I believe the conversation went something on the order of door dings are a part of living in Los Angeles, and that, you know, I should just go on my way.
So you took your car, I'm sure, and had an estimate done?
Yes.
Good. I'm going to take a look at that in a second. Okay, so you gave him your business card?
Well, as I recall, after I had put my son in the car and I had warned him that the car parked next to us was very close, I opened the door and he was scurrying up into his car seat. He was barely 4 years old at the time. Just had almost, he says he was 3, but he had just turned 4. And as he was getting into the car seat, the door inched open a little bit more. There wasn't enough room really for it to go too much further, and it bumped very slightly the car next to us. And the next thing I remember is this man waving his arms and screaming at my son. And Marco began to cry. And I gave him my card and said, don't yell at my son. Please call me if you would like to talk about this.
Okay. Let me see.
The estimate?
Mm-hmm. Well, your estimate is for how much?
$229.
Why are you suing her for $537.17?
There was, we also got an estimate for a rental car for the week while we were, while we'd be out the use of my car. We called both Enterprise
They
and
need
Hertz.
a week to paint a car?
They
To
need
paint
a
a
week.
ding on a car? Forget it. They don't need a week to paint a car. Look, Miss Benson, and this clearly was an accident, right? That's why they have accident insurance rather than on-purpose insurance. Don't you feel as if you're responsible for it?
I would feel responsible if I knew for certain that my son had opened the car door and caused the damage that they're claiming that he caused.
I'd like to say something.
Were
if
you
I
there?
could. No, I wasn't there, but I spoke to her after the fact.
Who are you?
My name's Catherine Windler, and I'm John's wife. And I tried to call the defendant and work it out with her. When I called her, I said, look, there's been a problem with, you know, this accident, and she said, well, so what? Look, I don't feel like I should have to pay for this because
Door dings are part of life in Los Angeles. Get a life.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY. On the internet, judgejudy.com.
Why didn't you just resolve it with her?
I'd said, I'm sorry. I did say, I'm sorry that you have a ding in your door. If we caused it, I'll help pay for it. But she insisted that we pay for the whole thing. And
well, what do you mean help pay for it? If the ding was caused by your 5-year-old son, I mean, he didn't do it on purpose. He was trying to get into a car. But if it was caused by you, it certainly wasn't caused by them, why do you feel as if they should share the cost in fixing it?
She threw out the figure of $500 almost right away, and I said, there is no way that my son cost $500.
No, the damage to the car was $229. That's the estimate to have it fixed.
At that point, I thought she became very unreasonable. And
did you say to her dings are part of life in Los Angeles?
I did. I believe that. I mean, I have dings all over my car, and I'm not out suing anyone.
Certainly, if I were out of my car and I saw somebody whack my car on the side and there was a ding or a dent or a scratch in my brand new car, I would want that person to make good and take care of it.
I take exception to the term whack. There was not that kind of force involved.
Whether you believe that there was or there wasn't. You had an opportunity to look at it. You chose not to do that because you were upset.
I did look at it. There was a small scratch on the door.
Well, that's what he says. He says it was just a 1/4 of an inch, but he said it went all the way down to the paint, to the base of the car.
I don't know how it could have gone all the way down to the paint.
I don't know how either, madam, but it's unlikely that he added a ding in the exact same place caused at some other time other than this time. So pay the money and forget about it. You know, you do something, you're responsible for something, you're supposed to make good at it, put a period, and move on with your life. That's all. His son didn't mean to do it. He's an adorable little boy. But that happens when you're putting kids in a car. So you go have your car fixed. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $229. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I think it's unfortunate that people pursue really petty things and try to inflict harm on a young child and his mother, but I guess that's life.
The defendant took the position in this case the entire time that she shouldn't be responsible, and the only thing today that I've seen that makes her responsible is the fact that she actually showed up with her child. I mean, it's not an example that I'd set for my children, that I'd damage somebody's property and not stand up and be responsible for it.